Chapter 1559. Zhou Hai was overjoyed and called out, "Brother Lin, come quickly. We found their tracks." "You found their tracks?" Lin Xian was also surprised. He didn't expect the sect to have such a method. His figure flashed and he followed behind. At this moment, the dark red dragon in his sleeve explained. "This is a spirit-seeking mouse. It's a very intelligent beast with a very developed sense of smell. It can track people down. So that's how it is." Lin Xian nodded. He finally understood how the other party could find the 10,000 poison sect's tracks. In front of them was a continuous mountain range. The peaks were thousands of feet high and stood on the ground like divine swords. When Lin Xian and the others arrived, they found that the spirit-seeking mouse was no longer flying. It seemed to have lost its way. "What's going on? We lost them?" Zhou Hai frowned. He didn't expect his method to fail. Lin Xian also frowned. He used his soul power to investigate, but he didn't find anyone nearby. However, he felt uneasy. At this moment, the dark red dragon transmitted its voice. "Kid, be careful. I'm afraid it's a trap." Lin Xian nodded and was about to say something. However, all of a sudden, countless black shadows appeared all around them and surrounded them like ghosts. Sinister laughter rang out in the surroundings. It was like the laughter of evil spirits, causing one's scalp to go numb. "Who is it? Come out!" Zhou Hai and the others shouted. At the same time, their bodies shone with light as they prepared to defend themselves. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes in surprise. Good method. He didn't even detect the other party's presence. It seems that the 10,000 poison sect has some unusual methods. Haha, I didn't expect it to be a few children. You dare to chase us here? I have to say you're really bold. A cold voice sounded. Not good, it's the 10,000 poison sect. Zhou Hai's expression changed. Everyone be careful. Then he roared angrily, Humph, remnants of the 10,000 poison sect, you've harmed the common people, and now you dare to come near my pill sect? You're courting death. I didn't expect you to be from the pill sect. Since that's the case, then all the more I can't let you live. Before he finished speaking, a green shadow flew out quickly. That green light is too terrifying. It's covering the sky and covering the earth. It's like a raging sea. It's heading straight for Zhou Hai. Scram. Zhou Hai roared and punched out. The fiery red fist carried a resplendent light that illuminated the surroundings as it quickly slammed into the green light. Boom. A terrifying sound rang out. More than half of the green light was melted by the fiery red fist. However, Zhou Hai did not have it easy either. He took 5 steps back and the blood in his body was boiling. There was nothing he could do about it. That green attack was simply too terrifying. It wasn't powerful, but its strength was strange and it even carried poisonous gas. Fortunately, he had been careful in defending himself, so the other party didn't succeed. I didn't expect your strength to be so good. You actually managed to survive under my green devil hand? But kid, don't be too complacent. I only used half of my strength just now. This time I'll use my full strength. Let's see if you can still block it. The cold voice rang out again with a strong sense of ridicule. Then an incomparably violent energy surged out and slammed towards Zhou Hai. Zhou Hai's face changed drastically. The previous attack was still too much for him to handle. However, now that the other party had used his full strength, the aura made him feel suffocated. Seeing that Zhou Hai was about to be swallowed by the green palm, Lin Xian made his move at this critical moment. He waved his hand and a huge sword chi quickly formed. It shone brightly like a divine rainbow and quickly slashed forward. A terrifying murderous aura shot into the sky. Boom. In an instant, the green palm was cut off by the sword chi. Not only that, the poisonous gas that filled the sky was also completely eliminated. Thank you, Brother Lin. Seeing that Lin Xian had repelled the other party, Zhou Hai heaved a sigh of relief and thanked him gratefully. The others were also extremely shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian's battle prowess to be so powerful. At this moment, the cold voice rang out again, I didn't expect there to be another expert. But kid, since you dared to offend me, you're definitely dead this time. The sound wave turned into a green ocean and spread out in all directions, bringing with it a strange poisonous gas. Damn the 10,000 poison sect. Zhou Hai gritted his teeth, then quickly took out a few pills and distributed them to Lin Xian and the others. This is the green spirit pill. It can cure hundreds of poisons. Take it and you'll be able to resist the poison of the 10,000 poison sect. Lin Xian took it and sniffed it. Then he nodded slightly and swallowed the pill. However, Zhou Hai and the others did not look too good. This was because from the previous attack, the other party was at least a 3-star king. They could not resist such an expert at all. However, they were more shocked by Lin Xian's combat strength. "Brother Lin, are you a 3-star king? Have you been hiding your strength?" The few of them asked doubtfully. Lin Xian smiled and shook his head. "No, I just used some secret techniques. However, it's not difficult to resist a 3-star king." "You're really boasting shamelessly." The cold voice rang out again. "It's not difficult to resist a 3-star king? Kid, it seems like you really don't know your limits. Fine, I'll kill you today and let you know the power of a 3-star king." As the voice fell, countless figures appeared in the surroundings. A middle-aged man walked out from the front. He was wearing a blue robe and his face was pale and beardless. His eyes were long and narrow and they were filled with coldness. His eyes were jade green and had an extremely ferocious gaze. This middle-aged man was the one who had attacked earlier. He was also a 3-star king. Behind him stood dozens of 10,000 poison sects nobles, ranging from 2-star kings to 9th heaven venerables. What? So many people. Zhou Hai and the others felt their scalps go numb when they saw this scene. They were already no match for a 3-star king, let alone the 10,000 poison sects cultivators behind them. Are we really going to die here this time? Don't panic. Hold them back. There should be disciples of our alchemy faction nearby. Another disciple quickly sent a voice transmission. Then he waved his hand and flicked a red pill into the sky. Then it exploded, forming a cloud of mist. This was the communication signal between alchemy faction's disciples. It could be used to call for help. Now that it was used, it could be seen from hundreds of miles away. However, the middle-aged man in the blue robe sneered. He waved his hand and countless green lights surged out of his body and rushed into the sky, enveloping the red mist. Hee, you want to call for help? It's useless. Today is the day you die. Damn it. Zhou Hai and the others' expressions changed drastically when they saw this scene. Meanwhile, Lin Xian's eyes were gloomy. Although the signal for help had been blocked, these people were not much of a threat to him. As long as he attacked with his full strength, he could kill all of them. That was exactly what he was thinking. The great dragon sword soul in his body circulated, and an aura was about to be released. Chapter 1560. The voice was extremely terrifying. Not only did Zhou Hai and the others' expressions change, but even the middle-aged man from the 10,000 Poisons sect looked gloomy. Lin Xian's heart also jumped. He narrowed his eyes and looked into the distance. This energy was too terrifying. It seemed to have surpassed that of a 3-star king. Could it be a 4-star king? Thinking of this, Lin Xian frowned. He didn't attack again. Instead, he quietly watched. Even a 4-star king would be difficult for him. If the other party was from the 10,000 Poison sect, then he could only take Zhou Hai and the others and leave. Soon the figure arrived and floated in the sky. He was like a god of war looking down. It was a youth with a cold expression. His gaze was like lightning, causing one's heart to tremble. A fiery red cauldron floated above his head. 2 fire dragons were carved on it, circling around each other. The 10,000 Poison sect dares to behave so atrociously near my alchemy sect. You really don't know what's good for you? The mysterious youth's cold voice sounded. Who are you? Below, the middle-aged man from the 10,000 Poison sect had a grave expression. The cultivators behind him also frowned. They could feel how powerful the other party's aura was. Core disciple of the alchemy sect, Lu Chao. The mysterious youth said coldly, I've already answered your question. You can die now. In the sky, the mysterious youth waved his hand. Immediately, the red cauldron above him emitted a resplendent light. It was like a sea of fire and it was rapidly rolling down. Countless flames soared into the sky, piercing through the sea of clouds and instantly enveloping all the cultivators of the 10,000 Poison sect. Ah! Miserable screams rang out. The cultivators of the 10,000 Poison sect tried their best to resist, but to no avail. Even the blue-robed middle-aged man used his king's domain to try and escape. However, Lu Chao coldly snorted. He pointed his finger, and flames soared into the sky, turning into a fire dragon that instantly swallowed the middle-aged man. In an instant, all the cultivators of the 10,000 Poison sect were killed. Even the surrounding poison gas was evaporated by the sea of fire, leaving not a trace behind. So powerful. They were all killed in an instant. Zhou Hai and the others widened their eyes in disbelief. Lin Xian was also extremely surprised. His opponent's strength had exceeded his expectations. He was indeed an expert. Most likely, his strength had already surpassed that of a 3-star king. Furthermore, from the other party's words, he seemed to be a core disciple. Is this the strength of a core disciple? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and carefully sized up his opponent. Greetings, senior brother. Zhou Hai and the others shouted respectfully. At this time, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. A few figures flew over like lightning. They were all young people wearing the attire of the alchemy sect. It seemed that they were also disciples of the alchemy sect. This time there were a total of 5 or 6 people, both men and women, and their strength was not weak. When these people arrived and saw the scene below, Jing immediately smiled and said, Senior Martial Brother Lu is indeed powerful. He killed nearly 110,000 poison sect's martial artists with a raise of his hand. Such means are heaven-defying. That was because Senior Brother Lu was also a very powerful existence among the core disciples. However, these people from the 10,000 poison sect are too despicable. They actually dared to come to our pill sect and behave atrociously. And from the looks of it, there were quite a few of them. Could it be that they were plotting something? The new disciples quickly conversed. At this time, the core disciple called Lu Chao looked down and said in a low voice, Are you all inner sect disciples? Yes, Zhou Hai quickly said. Thank you for your help, Senior Martial Brother Lu. Lu Chao nodded and said again, You should go back. This time, the 10,000 poison sect's martial artists are strong. They are not people you can fight against. Okay, we'll go back now. Zhou Hai and the others nodded. They knew that the other party was right. This time, the 10,000 poison sect's martial artists were very strong, and there were many of them. They were afraid that it would be very dangerous for them to stay here. Lin Xian, let's go. Zhou Hai looked to the side and said quickly. Okay. Lin Xian nodded and turned to leave. However, at this time, a young man in the sky frowned and asked coldly, Lin Xian? You're Lin Xian, the new inner sect disciple? There was a sinister coldness in this voice. Lin Xian stopped and looked back. Zhou Hai and the others were confused and stopped as well. He looked back and saw a handsome man standing there. However, his eyes were very cold and there was even a hint of killing intent. This made him very confused. The other party wanted to kill him, but he did not know him at all? At this time the other disciples asked, Fang Li, what's going on? Do you know him? It's nothing, just some personal matters. Fang Li explained. Then he looked to the front and said respectfully, Senior Martial Brother Lu, I have some matters to settle, so I'd like to stay here for a while. Okay. Lu Chao nodded. Then his body flashed and he turned into a rainbow and left. It seemed that he was going to hunt down the other 10,000 poison sect martial artists. When the remaining people saw this, they also followed after him. At this time, only Fang Li was left in the sky. Suddenly, Fang Li's body sank and he landed on the ground. On the opposite side, Zhou Hai and the others frowned. They could not understand why Fang Li stayed. However, looking at his eyes, it was probably not something good. Therefore, they hurriedly sent a voice transmission. Brother Lin, be careful. Fang Li is considered a figure in the inner sect, but he is not to be trifled with. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He really did not know what Fang Li's intentions were. This was because he had not interacted with anyone in the past few days in the alchemy sect. It was impossible for him to have a grudge with anyone. In front, Fang Li sneered, Lin Xian, how dare you steal my sister's spot? Your sister? Lin Xian frowned even harder. He did not know this person's sister at all. Ridiculous. Lin Xian snorted and turned to leave. He did not have time to waste with this person. You want to leave? Fang Li sneered. Then his body flashed and he appeared in front of everyone, blocking their way. At the same time, a terrifying aura surged from his body. It was very sharp. Fang Li, what are you doing? I'm warning you, don't mess around. Zhou Hai said quickly. Mess around? Who do you think you are? How dare you control me? Get lost. Fang Li snorted and threw a punch, instantly pushing Zhou Hai back. Bang, bang, bang. Zhou Hai stepped back, cracking the ground. His expression was very ugly. When the others saw this, they all roared. Fang Li, although you are a 3-star king, we are not to be trifled with. If you push us too far, we will fight to the death. Fight to the death? Just the few of you? You are not worthy of my attack. Fang Li said coldly, as long as you get lost and don't interfere, I will not kill you. However, I will not let this kid go today. Chapter 1561. Lin Xian frowned when he saw this. Do I know you? You don't know me, but my sister could have entered the inner sect, but she was replaced by you. Tell me, how can I let you go? So that's what happened. Hearing this, Zhou Hai and the others' faces turned ugly, but Lin Xian understood. He did become an inner sect disciple directly, but this was the sect's decision, and it had nothing to do with him. As for replacing Fang Li's sister, he didn't know either. But now Fang Li didn't explain at all and showed killing intent to him. He didn't take him seriously at all. However, Lin Xian wasn't afraid of a mere 3-star king. So, he said coldly, becoming an inner sect disciple is the sect's decision. If you have any opinions, you can raise them directly. It's no use looking for me. Of course, if you insist on finding trouble with me, I don't mind teaching you a lesson. Teach me a lesson? Fang Li was stunned, then he sneered disdainfully. Ah, what a shameless boast. Kid, I think water must have entered your brain. How dare you say such a thing? He sneered disdainfully. As far as he was concerned, Lin Xian was only a 1-star king realm cultivator. Such a person definitely wouldn't be strong. And he was a 3-star king, an extremely powerful existence among the inner sect disciples. He had many secret techniques in his hands, and he also had a very unique flame. It could be said that he was incomparably powerful. He only needed to move his finger and he would be able to squash the other party to death. Yet, Fang Li still dared to boast about teaching him a lesson? What a joke. Kid, I don't care what background you have, and I don't know how you entered the inner sect. Since you dared to replace my sister, you must die. Remember, in your next life, be careful. Don't provoke people you can't afford to provoke. Fang Li's voice was cold, and boundless killing intent surged from his body, forming a murderous aura that pierced through heaven and earth. What? You dare to kill someone? Fang Li, don't you know the sect rules? Zhou Hai roared. According to the rules of the alchemy sect, disciples of the same sect are not allowed to kill each other. Thus, even if there was enmity between them, they would usually just teach each other a lesson. But now Fang Li wants to kill Lin Xian. This is too shocking. What's wrong with that? A bunch of idiots? In any case, you're out on a mission. Even if you can't return, others will think that you were killed by the 10,000 Poisons sect. So you won't suspect me. Die, brat. Fang Li roared angrily and charged towards Lin Xian. It was a terrifying martial art right from the start. Purple Tiger Beast Fire. A ball of purple flames appeared on Fang Li's body, burning fiercely and releasing a terrifying aura. This type of flame was extracted from the body of a type of demon king. It was extremely terrifying. Now that Fang Li was using it, it was even more terrifying. Purple Tiger Form. On Fang Li's body, purple flames surged rapidly, forming a huge purple tiger. Then it charged towards Lin Xian. This momentum was too terrifying. It was as if a real demon king was emitting a terrifying aura. Everywhere it passed, the void quickly collapsed. In an instant, it was in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian's body flashed. Like a ghost, he disappeared from his original spot and appeared on the other side. He dodged it? Seeing this, Zhou Hai and the others were overjoyed. However, in the next moment they exclaimed. This was because they realized that the purple tiger did not disappear. Instead, it charged towards Lin Xian again. The monstrous flames caused the void to distort incomparably. If it's useless, brat, you can't escape. This is my origin source flame. It won't stop until I kill you. In the distance, Fang Li sneered. Although Lin Xian's speed surprised him, he did not care because he was very confident in himself. On the other hand, Zhou Hai and the others were worried. Damn Fang Li, this guy really wanted to kill Lin Xian. They were afraid that Lin Xian would be in danger. In that case, don't blame me. Lin Xian stopped dodging. Instead, he attacked quickly. He was not a timid person. Since the other party wanted to kill him, he had to kill the other party to prevent future trouble. Azure Dragon Break. A black demonic sword appeared in his hand. Then he stabbed it out. This was a move that he had just learned. When he used it now, its power was terrifying. The sword chi surged and turned into a furious black dragon, roaring at high speed. This black dragon shone brightly like a real divine dragon. It stirred up thousands of waves and moved quickly in the void. On his body, there were countless sword radiances that pierced through the sea of clouds. Boom! The black sword chi instantly collided with the purple tiger shadow, causing a shocking explosion. The terrifying energy shook heaven and earth. However, the explosion disappeared in an instant. All the energy, including the purple tiger, was destroyed by the black sword chi and disappeared without a trace. Zhou Hai and the others had already retreated to a distance to watch the battle. They could not block that energy at all. What? He blocked it? How is that possible? On the opposite side, Fang Li was shocked and could not believe it. Fang Li was only a 1-star king, while he was a 3-star king. The difference in strength between them was like heaven and earth. But, he actually managed to block his attack? How is that possible? He can't believe it. In the distance, Zhou Hai and the others were also shocked. Although they had seen Lin Xian fight against the experts of the 10,000 Poison sect, they thought that it was a secret technique that would not last long. But now Lin Xian blocked Fang Li's attack with ease. This made them extremely shocked. They even realized that it was not a secret technique that could achieve this. Perhaps Lin Xian was really strong. Thinking of this, they all heaved a sigh of relief. On the other hand, Fang Li's expression was terrifyingly gloomy. His eyes were like lightning as he stared ahead. Damn it, that's impossible. How did you do it? Could it be that you took some kind of energy-boosting pill? Yes, that must be it. Otherwise, how could you block my attack? As an alchemist, he naturally knew about this kind of pill that could instantly increase a cultivator's strength. However, it would cause great damage to the body. In his opinion, Lin Xian must have taken such a pill to be able to fight against him. Humph, it's just a pill that relies on external strength. How can it compare to me? Next, I'll let you know my true strength. Fang Li comforted himself. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly. Shameless fool. With that, his figure flashed and he charged forward again. The 9 darkness demonic sword in his hand emitted a monstrous power. It was like thunder from the 9 heavens as it exploded again. Chapter 1562. You are courting death. Fang Li was enraged. He did not expect Lin Fan to take the initiative to attack him. This was undoubtedly a provocation. Thousand Beasts Fist. He waved his fists and countless purple flames danced. They formed thousands of fist shadows and charged toward Lin Xian. Every fist was the size of a mountain. They carried a monstrous force and shattered the void. Bang, bang, bang. The sword chi and fist shadows collided and the violent energy destroyed the entire sky. However, Lin Xian's sword chi was too powerful. The 9 darkness demonic sword slashed down like a death scythe and sliced all the fist shadows apart. In an instant, the purple flames in the sky were extinguished and nothing was left. However, the black sword chi charged toward Fang Li again. Before the sword chi landed, the terrifying murderous intent pierced through the void. What? How is this possible? Fang Li was scared out of his wits when he saw this. That was his ultimate skill. How could it be so easily broken by someone else? He could not believe it. When he felt the chilling murderous intent, his heart raced. At this moment he finally knew that Lin Fan was stronger than him. Therefore he gritted his teeth and retreated quickly like a purple light. What? He retreated? Fang Li retreated. In the distance, Zhou Hai and the rest widened their eyes in disbelief when they saw this. Fang Li was a real 3-star king and was extremely powerful. Everyone in the inner sect knew about him. Moreover, his opponent's flame was even more terrifying. It was at the Demon King level. But now, Fang Li had actually retreated and from the looks of it, he was in such a sorry state. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. Fang Li retreated quickly like a purple rainbow. However, the black sword chi was even more violent and faster. Not only that, the black sword chi had already firmly locked onto him. It was like a black dragon roaring in the air. Fang Li could not dodge it. At this critical moment, Fang Li gritted his teeth and quickly took out a purple alchemy cauldron to block the black sword chi. Clang. The sound of metal clashing was heard and the entire void cracked. Although Fang Li used the purple alchemy cauldron to block the sword chi, the powerful force still sent him flying and smashed a few mountains. Fang Li screamed crazily as blood splattered everywhere. Impossible, this is impossible. Damn it, how did you do it? He was truly crazy. Beside him was a sea of purple flames, which formed a king's domain, burning the mountains, trees and forests. His face was hideous like a demon. He didn't dare to believe it. However, Lin Xian was like a flickering shadow, instantly appearing beside him. The demonic sword in his hand quickly stabbed down. Fang Li was sent flying again. God knows how many of his bones were broken. This time he received serious internal injuries and could barely get up. However, when he saw Lin Xian walking towards him again, he immediately screamed. Because he realized that the other party really wanted to kill him. Stop. Damn it. You dare to kill me? Do you know who I am? Fang Li screamed. Lin Xian snorted coldly. What does it have to do with me who you are? I don't know you, yet you came to kill me for no reason at all? Do you think I'll let you go? Hearing this, Fang Li's face turned ugly. He quickly said, I was wrong about what happened before. I'll apologize to you. Can you let me go? In the distance, Zhou Hai and the others couldn't believe their ears. The arrogant Fang Li was begging for mercy? This was simply too unbelievable. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly, "I don't like to leave threats behind, so you must die." Then he slowly raised the 9 darkness demonic sword. "You're courting death, kid. Don't you know that I'm senior brother Lu Chao's man? If you dare to touch me, senior brother Lu Chao won't let you go." Fong Li roared crazily as if he had gone mad. Hearing this, Zhou Hai and the others were shocked. They didn't expect Fong Li to be on Lu Chao's side. One had to know that Lu Chao was a core disciple, and his cultivation had reached the 4-star king level. He was extremely terrifying. If he was angry, he could kill any inner disciple in front of everyone without being punished by the faction. It could be said that in their eyes, Lu Chao was a supreme existence. Lin Xian furrowed his brows. He had already witnessed the methods of that core disciple, Lu Chao. Seeing Lin Xian hesitate, Fong Li sneered again, "How about it, kid? Are you scared now? Kneel down and kowtow to me now and I might spare your life. Otherwise, when I tell senior brother Lu Chao, you'll die." "Shut up." Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a wave of his sword, he chopped off Fong Li's head. Blood spurted out as Fong Li fell. Even in death, he couldn't believe that Lin Xian would dare to kill him. Was he not afraid of the revenge of the core disciples? Lin Xian said coldly, "You don't have to threaten me. If he dares to cause trouble for me, I'll kill him too." With that, he waved his hand, and the black 9 darkness flame gushed out and burned the corpse on the ground. However, he put away the storage ring and the purple pill cauldron. The cauldron was able to resist his sword chi, so it must be of a high grade. As a powerful inner disciple, Fong Li must have many treasures in his storage ring. On the other hand, Zhou Hai and the others were stunned. They didn't expect Lin Xian to really kill Fong Li. They couldn't believe that Fong Li had been killed. "Brother Lin, you..." Zhou Hai and the others rushed over and looked at the scene on the ground, dumbfounded. Lin Xian shook his head, "I had no choice. If I didn't kill him, I don't know when he would kill me." "Don't worry, the sect won't be able to find out. As he said, as long as you don't say anything, no one will know that I did it. They'll definitely think that the 10,000 Poisons sect did it." "Don't worry, brother Lin, we won't say anything." Zhou Hai and the others swore. "But you have to be careful of senior brother Lu Chao. After all, he's a core disciple. If he finds out about this, we'll be in trouble. Core disciples have the power to kill. They don't even need to go through the sect to attack the inner disciples." Zhou Hai said worriedly, "Don't worry. A 4-star king is strong. I might not be able to defeat him, but I'm still able to protect myself." Lin Xian wasn't boasting. He had many tricks up his sleeve, which was far beyond Zhou Hai and the others' imagination. Then the group moved and left the place. Lin Xian and the others didn't continue with their mission. Instead, they returned to the sect. With their current strength, they couldn't fight against the 10,000 Poisons sect. Lin Xian wasn't in the mood, so the group went back. Chapter 1563. Lin Xian wasn't in the mood either, so the group went back. However, Lin Xian's face darkened when he returned to the alchemy sect. He realized that half of his courtyard had been destroyed. This made him extremely angry. When the crowd saw that Lin Xian had returned, they began to point at him and discuss among themselves. 2 young men were sitting in the courtyard that Lin Xian had destroyed. When they saw Lin Xian return, they opened their eyes. "You're Lin Xian?" The 2 of them stared at Lin Xian with unfriendly expressions. "That's right, it's me. You destroyed my courtyard?" Lin Xian asked coldly. So what if we destroyed your courtyard? Do you dare to resist?" The 2 of them sneered. "How dare you offend young Master Fong? You're courting death." "Kid, I didn't expect you to be so lucky. You're back so soon. If you meet young Master Fong outside, you're dead meat." "Don't worry. He didn't meet young Master Fong, but he met us. We'll teach him a lesson. Let him know that there are some people he can't mess with. Kid, I advise you to kneel down and apologize. Otherwise you'll die a horrible death." "You're the ones who should kneel down and apologize. How dare you destroy my courtyard?" Lin Xian's voice was cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. "How dare you threaten me?" The 2 young men sneered. "Kid, don't you know who you are? You're just a newcomer to the inner sect. How dare you be so arrogant? I'm young Master Fong's man, and young Master Fong is senior brother Lu's man. You've offended us. You won't be able to stay in the inner sect for long." At this point, the 2 young men laughed wildly. The crowd was silent because they knew that they were right. That Lin Xian is dead meat. Yeah, he could have offended anyone, but he chose to offend Fong Li. He's too young and doesn't know any better. He'll understand after staying in the inner sect for a while. The two arrogant disciples became even more smug when they heard the crowd's words. "Brat, did you hear that? You can't be saved. Hurry up and kneel down and apologize to us. Maybe we'll let you go if we're in a good mood. Humph, you're courting death." Lin Xin didn't waste any time and attacked like lightning. Like a phantom, he arrived before the two young men in the blink of an eye. He raised his hand and slapped forward. Pah, pah. Two crisp sounds rang out. Immediately, the two arrogant youths received two slaps on their faces. "You are courting death. You dare to hit us?" The two of them were stunned for a moment before they roared angrily. Mad, they were really mad. Normally they would flaunt their prowess in the inner sanctum. When had anyone ever dared to bully them? But now, a newcomer who had just arrived. How dare he slap them? This was intolerable. Upon seeing this, the minds of the surrounding inner disciples went blank, and they stood rooted to the ground. They couldn't believe what was happening. However, Lin Xian only sneered. He waved his hand and slapped again. Pah, pah. The crisp sounds of slapping could be heard. Very soon, the two arrogant youths were beaten until their heads were swollen. Blood mixed with teeth all fell out. The two arrogant youths' faces were swollen and bleeding profusely. Their eyes were filled with anger. They roared as if they had gone mad. They wanted to dodge, but they couldn't avoid the slap at all. In the end, there was a look of horror in their eyes. This was because they realized that although the other party was only a one-star king, his strength was too terrifying and unfathomable. They couldn't afford to offend him at all. "No, don't hit us. I was wrong. Big brother, stop. Please spare us." The two arrogant youths knelt on the ground and quickly begged for mercy. When the surrounding inner disciples saw this, their eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. They couldn't believe that the two arrogant youths were kneeling before Lin Xian. Heavens, am I dreaming? Aren't they Fong Li's men? They are usually arrogant. Why are they terrified this time? Who exactly is Lin Xian? How can he be so powerful? In an instant, everyone was talking about it. Only Zhou Hai and a few others were calm. This was nothing. Even their boss, Fong Li, had been killed by Lin Xian. Of course, they wouldn't tell anyone about this. Lin Xian retracted his hand and wiped his fingers. Then he said, "You destroyed my courtyard. You should know what to do, right?" Yes, big brother. We'll fix it for you now." The two of them quickly moved to fix Lin Xian's courtyard. This scene was too strange. More and more inner disciples came to watch. However, the two arrogant youths didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. Instead, they quickly lowered their heads and started working. Soon the courtyard was fixed. Lin Xian didn't make things difficult for them and told them to get lost. After the two of them left, the surrounding inner disciples also left one after another. However, from now on, no one would dare to offend Lin Xian. As for Lin Xian, he entered the courtyard. With a wave of his hand, a formation quickly formed and surrounded the courtyard. Then he sat down cross-legged and took out Fong Li's storage ring. There were dozens of subdivine crystals, many elixirs, and many spiritual herbs in the storage ring. In addition, Lin Xian also found some cultivation techniques. Most of them were useless to him. However, he was quite interested in one of them, the fire manipulation art. As he became more familiar with the shaken world, Lin Xian realized that the subdivine crystals this time were unusual even in this place. Therefore, Fong Li had dozens of subdivine crystals, which was quite a lot. As for the ordinary disciples, most of them still used high-grade spirit stones. After putting away the subdivine crystals, Lin Xian opened the fire manipulation art. This fire manipulation art was about the control of fire by an alchemist. Some parts of it were exquisite and inspired Lin Xian a lot. With a wave of his hand, the 9 underworlds flame rushed out and danced between his fingers. Then he used the fire manipulation art. Immediately, the black flames moved and formed many demonic beasts. If one looked closely, they would find that the demonic beasts formed by Lin Xian's flames were more realistic. In fact, some details were exactly the same as real demonic beasts. Their power had also increased by a lot. Lin Xian nodded and put the fire manipulation art aside. Lin Xian checked all the spiritual herbs and elixirs carefully. He put away all the useful items. As for the useless ones, he planned to find a place to sell them. He also couldn't use the purple cauldron. Otherwise, people would definitely suspect him. Next, Lin Xian didn't go out again. Instead, he went into seclusion to break through and become a 2-star king. After all, Fong Li had a core disciple, Lu Chao, behind him. If Lu Chao found out about this, he might attack him at any time. Chapter 1564. If Lu Chao found out about this, he might attack him at any time. He had to be careful. Lu Chao was a 4-star king. With his current strength he couldn't fight against him. Therefore he had to raise his cultivation as soon as possible. Also, if he wanted to become a core disciple he had to make a breakthrough. Based on the current situation, only 4-star kings had a chance of becoming a core disciple. Lin Xian held the dozens of subdivinity crystals in his hand and used the long life incantation to absorb them quickly. Just like that, Lin Xian went into seclusion. The other inner disciples were still on the mission of hunting down the 10,000 Poisons sect. Among them, the most eye-catching was the small team led by the core disciple Lu Chao. Wherever they went, the 10,000 Poisons sect was immediately destroyed. No one was spared. Lu Chao was wearing a white robe. His face was cold and he emitted a powerful aura. He was like a fire god standing in the void. With a wave of his hand, the red cauldron above his head shone brightly and formed a sea of fire that killed hundreds of 10,000 Poisons sect martial artists. Behind him, a few inner disciples clapped and cheered. Lu Chao was expressionless as he slowly descended to the ground. Then he frowned. How long has it been? Why isn't Fong Li back yet? It's been 2 days. Yeah, what's Fong Li doing? Has he returned to the sect? A few inner disciples were confused. Lu Chao looked at the contribution points in his hand and nodded slightly. It's about time. We should be able to exchange for many things. Let's go back to the sect first. Then they set off and returned to the alchemy sect. However, when they returned, Lu Chao and the others found that Fong Li hadn't returned. However, they didn't care and went to exchange for treasures. However, after waiting for 3 days, Fong Li still hadn't returned. Those people all started to frown. Even Lu Chao's expression had sunk. Under normal circumstances, Fong Li wouldn't have dared to leave him for so many days without sending him a message. There was only one possibility for such a thing to happen. Something had happened to Fong Li and he couldn't come back. No matter what, as his subordinate, Fong Li was very capable. Moreover, he was talented and wanted to nurture him. Thus, Lu Chao became worried upon seeing that Chu Feng had yet to return. He asked in a low voice, "Who was Fong Li with the last time?" "It should be those inner sect disciples," someone said from the side. "Didn't Fong Li say that he had to deal with some personal matters the last time we worked together?" After that, there was no news of him. "Have you searched outside?" Lu Chao asked again. "Yes, I've already searched the nearby forests and cities. In fact, we even searched the place where he left. However, we were unable to find any trace of him. It's like Fong Li has evaporated into thin air." Hearing this, Lu Chao's face darkened. The surrounding disciples were also extremely confused. "That's impossible. With Fong Li's strength, there shouldn't be any accidents. Even if I encounter people from the myriad poison sect, I should be able to escape even if I can't defeat them." The few of them conversed, but the more they thought about it, the more they felt that something was off. Did something really happen to Fong Li? Lu Chao's face was also gloomy. "I think it's very likely." Upon hearing these words, the surrounding inner disciples gasped in shock. Then their eyes widened. How is that possible? Who could put Fong Li in such a predicament? Unless it's a 4-star king. But we've been on this mission for so many days, and we haven't seen a single 4-star king or myriad poison sect martial artist. It's useless to think so much. Who did he meet last? Call those inner disciples over, Lu Chao said coldly. Yes, I'll call them over right now. An inner disciple quickly left. On the other side, Lin Xian had been in seclusion all this time, and he finally opened his eyes today. However, he sighed slightly because he hadn't broken through to the 2-star king realm. After entering the king realm, the energy required to break through was extremely huge. Especially for him, he required even more energy than an ordinary person. This was actually very normal. The Dragon Sword Soul was extremely powerful, and its attack power was unparalleled. Thus, the energy it required was much more than an ordinary martial artist. Although Lin Xian had many natural treasures and the powerful absorption power of the longevity art, he still couldn't meet the requirements of the Dragon Sword Soul. It seemed like he had to go out and search for opportunities. Lin Xian stood up and prepared to go out. However, although he hadn't broken through to the 2-star king realm, his current cultivation had reached the late stage of the 1-star king realm. His strength was also much stronger than before. However, at this moment, Zhou Hai came over again. His expression was extremely solemn as he said to Lin Xian, "Brother Lin, senior brother Lu Chao has sent people to look for us. Could it be that we've been exposed?" Lin Xian's eyelids twitched when he heard this, and a bad premonition arose in his heart. However, he still took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "We shouldn't have been exposed yet. If we were, he wouldn't have sent people to look for us and would have directly charged over. Perhaps he's just suspicious, or perhaps he doesn't know what happened at all, and wants to ask us about it. Don't worry. Our cultivations are very low, and we're nothing in his eyes. He wouldn't think that we can kill Fang Li. We just have to calm down. Very quickly Lin Xian, Zhou Hai and the others were taken away. Lu Chao's gaze was like lightning as he looked at Lin Xian and the others. He asked coldly, "Let me ask you, do you know where Fang Li is?" "Fang Li? We don't know. Hasn't he returned yet?" Zhou Hai and the others played dumb. "Why did he look for you that day?" Lu Chao continued to ask. "Nothing special, just a small misunderstanding. It's already been resolved," Zhou Hai continued to explain. "Nonsense." Lu Chao was suddenly enraged and his expression was abnormally cold. "Nothing special? I heard that Fang Li has a grudge with this kid, and it's not a small one. Now you're telling me that there's nothing special? What else are you hiding from me? Hurry up and tell me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. I'm a core disciple and I have the right to kill you. Therefore, even if I kill you now, the sect won't say anything." Hearing this, Zhou Hai and the others turned pale, and Lin Xian's gaze was also cold. Lu Chao's forcefulness made him very uncomfortable. Under normal circumstances, he would have already attacked. However, he still had a mission to complete in the alchemy sect. Therefore, he couldn't fall out with them. At least, he couldn't let the higher-ups of the alchemy sect notice him. Chapter 1565. Lin Xian took a deep breath and said, "Indeed, there was some misunderstanding between me and Fang Li. I was promoted to an inner disciple by an elder of the sect, taking away his sister's spot. I didn't know about this before. Because of this, Fang Li wanted to make trouble for me. But that day he didn't do anything and left. It seems he discovered something else. It should have something to do with the 10,000 Poisons sect." Lin Xian said half of the truth. As for the other half, he pushed the blame to the 10,000 Poisons sect. Lu Chao didn't say anything. He stared coldly at Lin Xian. At the same time he released the pressure of a 4-star king. Feeling this pressure, Zhou Hai and the others turned pale, and their bodies trembled. Lin Xian snorted inwardly. This pressure had no effect on him, but he still used the Immortality incantation and squeezed out a few drops of sweat, causing his face to turn even paler. After all, he couldn't reveal too much of his strength. Lu Chao was like a demon god. His cold gaze was like a sharp sword that could pierce through them. As the atmosphere became more and more tense, an inner disciple suddenly flew in. With a panicked expression he said, "Senior brother Lu Chao, something bad has happened." "What happened? Is it news about Fang Li?" Lu Chao asked coldly. "No, it's about the 10,000 Poisons sect." The 10,000 Poisons sect came with a purpose. They built an ancient tomb in the Fengshan mountain range, and it's filled with killing intent. It's already attracted the attention of many sects and countries. Our Pill sect is also very shocked. Many people are heading there now. "Senior brother, should we go as well? Ancient tomb? Let's go take a look." Lu Chao stood up without hesitation. After taking 2 steps, he turned back and stared at Lin Xian and the others. "You better be telling the truth. If I find out that you're lying, I'll kill you immediately." With that, he let out a cold harumph and led the other inner sect disciples up into the sky, disappearing into the void. Zhou Hai and the others were pale. They sat on the ground with a plop, covered in cold sweat. The situation just now really scared them to death. It was fortunate that they had news of the 10,000 Poisons Hall as a shield. Otherwise they would have been in grave danger by now. Lin Xian's expression was also cold. He knew that this matter was very troublesome. From the looks of it, regardless of whether he was the culprit or not, they still wanted to kill him. What an overbearing fellow. However, it's still not certain who will kill who. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he coldly snorted. "Zhou Hai, you guys go back. I need to go out for a while." Lin Xian had always wanted to go out and look for opportunities. This time, the 10,000 Poisons sect had created an ancient tomb, which piqued his interest. With the character of the 10,000 Poisons sect, there must be treasures inside. If he could get them, he might be able to become a 2-star king warrior. Once he became a 2-star king, Lu Chao and the others wouldn't be his match at all. At that time it would be hard to say who would kill who. Lin Xian's figure flashed, and he also disappeared in the air. This time he didn't move together with the other inner disciples. Although those people's strength was not bad, it would be difficult for them to explore such an ancient tomb. Of course he didn't move alone. He was accompanied by the dark red divine dragon. Finally, there's another treasure. I'm so excited. The dark red divine dragon stretched out its neck and howled like a hungry wolf. These days it had been holding back for too long. Kid, let's go all out this time. Let's see what good things are in that ancient tomb. The two of them were like lightning flying in the air. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, they found their target. In the distance there was a black mountain range. Killing intent soared into the sky, and demonic chi ran rampant. It was very terrifying, as if it had turned into hell. That aura made even the dark red divine dragon tremble. Damn. What a dense, baleful aura. The dark red divine dragon was very suspicious, but then its eyes lit up. Lin Xian also carefully examined and warned, "Be careful. This is not the Jianghu continent. There are experts everywhere. We must not enter danger." The two of them descended from the sky and hid their auras. They walked carefully. When they looked up, they could see many figures flashing on the mountain peak in the distance. Among them, there were not only people from the alchemy sect, but also the nearby sects and countries. They were all looking for the ancient tomb. The closer they got to Feng Mountain range, the more the aura of death there was. Black liquid began to appear on the ground, and even the trees were rotting. The entire mountain range seemed to have turned into hell. This is Feng Mountain. Even if there's no ancient tomb, it's still a land of death. Zombies often appear here, so you have to be careful. He Tu also warned. There's such a thing? Lin Xian was surprised. He originally thought that this change was caused by the appearance of the mysterious ancient tomb, but after hearing He Tu's words, he realized that was not the case. At the side, the dark red divine dragon also explained, he's right. Feng Mountain has been a dead mountain since ancient times. Who knows how many corpses are buried here, and there's no lack of experts among them. Of course, if the situation is good, they'll die and turn into bones. If the situation is bad, they'll turn into zombies. Ordinary martial artists will turn into zombies at most, but those peerless experts will turn into zombies with intelligence. Those zombies can cultivate. They're very terrifying. Kid, if we meet those zombies, we can only run. The dark red divine dragon also had a lingering fear. It was obvious that he knew a lot about Fengshan. With the two's warning, Lin Xian naturally became more careful. However, it was useless. The closer he got to Feng Mountain, the more bones there were. Crack. Lin Xian could crush several bones with a single stomp. Finally, he alarmed a skeletal creature. Crack. Crack. Countless white bones crawled out from the ground, forming skeletons. These skeletons were of different shapes. Some were humanoid and some were beast-like. At this moment, there were more than 10 skeletons, and they quickly pounced on Lin Xian. Lin Xian used dragon catcher hands. His palms were like two real dragons, and they instantly sent the skeletons flying. However, this action of his caused an even greater commotion as even more powerful skeletal creatures appeared. An angry roar came from below. Suddenly, the entire ground began to tremble. A crack that was almost 1,000 meters long formed, and then a huge figure appeared. It was also a skeleton's creature, but its body was the size of a small mountain. There were 2 balls of green flames on the huge skeletons of a cow. Those were soul flames. Chapter 1566. The white bone ox head held a huge black axe in its hand. It was as big as a door, and its surface was full of holes. It had been corroded to the extreme. However, its power was extraordinary. The giant black tiger axe was swung in the air and turned into a black ray of light. It was like a bolt of lightning that blasted towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian clenched his fist and punched out. The blood in his body roared like a dragon. Bang! He used his fist to meet the giant black axe head-on. The collision of the two caused the void to tremble. Boulders rolled down from the surrounding mountains. With a single strike, Lin Xian was forced to take a step back, whereas the ox-head white bone was forced to take 3 steps back. Ah, so powerful. Lin Xian was surprised. His punch was extremely terrifying. Even a 3-star king might not be able to take it. However, the skeletal creature was only pushed back by 3 steps. He had to admit that it was too powerful. As for the white bone bull head, it roared furiously. Although its intelligence was not very high, it was still able to understand what was happening before its eyes. A human brat was actually able to force him back. This made him extremely furious. In the next moment, the green flames in its eye sockets suddenly surged and a layer of light appeared on its white body. It roared, and the sound waves with a strange killing intent quickly enveloped Lin Xian. Brr. At the side, the dark red divine dragon also roared and let out a dragon roar. Immediately, the sound waves of the skeletal creature were dispersed. At the same time Lin Xian clenched his fist and the thousand-beast cauldron appeared in front of him. Then he formed a seal with his fingers and a black ray of light quickly appeared and shot into the skeletal bull's eye sockets. Brr. In the next moment the skeletal bull let out a miserable cry. The giant black axe in its hand slashed in all directions, causing the ground to sink. The green flames in its eye sockets jumped as if it was in great pain. However, after a while the green flames calmed down and the skeletal bull stopped rampaging. It stood respectfully in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian grabbed and put away the thousand-beast cauldron. He then nodded in satisfaction. His figure flickered as he arrived at the white bone bull's head and sat down cross-legged. On the other side, the dark red dragon also flew up. Let's go. Once the order was given, the white bone ox head took a huge step forward and rushed forward. Bang bang bang. It was as if a white ancient mountain was moving, causing the earth to tremble. Along the way many skeletal creatures were alarmed, but when they saw the skeletal bull head, they all hid underground, not daring to come out. This saved him a lot of trouble. Lin Xian used his soul power to scan the surroundings. He avoided most of the martial artists in the sky and arrived at the nearest mountain range. There's a cave. The dark red divine dragon's gaze was like lightning as it immediately locked onto the front. Shall we go in and take a look? He asked excitedly. All right. Lin Xian nodded. Then the two of them turned into rainbows and flew toward the cave ahead. As soon as he entered the cave, Lin Xian felt a cold aura surrounding him. That aura was very strange, like a gust of chilly wind, causing his hair to stand on end. His figure flashed and the red lotus armor appeared. After all these years, Lin Xian had gathered all the materials and refined the complete red lotus armor. The red lotus armor's might was even above the starry sky armor. At the very least it could be used by King Realm martial artists. As soon as the red lotus armor appeared, Lin Xian immediately felt that the effect of the chilly wind had weakened greatly. This caused him to heave a sigh of relief. On the other side, the dark red dragon roared as well. The dragon blood in its body surged and formed a defense to resist the chilly wind. Once the two of them got used to the environment in the cave, they started to size up the surroundings. The inside of the cave was different from the outside. The outside was a swamp with rotten flesh and bones, but the inside of the cave was much cleaner and had a hard rock floor. It was very dark inside, but it wasn't a problem for Lin Xian and the dark red dragon. With their eyesight, they were naturally able to see that there was a passageway ahead. It seemed like it was probably a cave abode. They hadn't expected that they would be so lucky to find a cave abode at random. A wisp of joy appeared on Lin Xian's face. The dark red dragon was delighted as well. Although it's not the main cave abode, it should be pretty good. Let's go down and take a look. The passageway was in the shape of a spiral and extended downwards. Lin Xian and An Hong mystical dragon were both bold and skilled as they walked downwards. The passageway was very deep and seemed to lead to hell. Gradually, they discovered that there were footsteps echoing in the passageway. Could there be people? The two of them were shocked. They restrained their auras and moved quickly. Then they were stunned. There were indeed footsteps ahead, but they didn't belong to humans. They belonged to skeletons and zombies. The zombies and skeletons outside were mostly demon beasts, but they were all humans inside. They wore shabby armor, had expressionless faces, and their eyes were dead gray. They walked in the cave like patrolling soldiers. How strange. These zombies can actually absorb the aura of death around them. The dark red dragon was surprised. Then it looked carefully and exclaimed in surprise. Kid, look at the inscriptions on their bodies. Lin Xian looked over as well and a look of shock appeared on his face. Indeed, the dark red dragon was right. The zombies in front had obscure inscriptions on their bodies. Fortunately, the two of them were experts in this area. Otherwise they might not have noticed it. This is a formation inscribed on the zombies. It allows them to absorb the aura of death around them and maintain their mobility. What a clever method. I wonder who set it up for them? Could it be the owner of this cave abode? I don't know. Let's go down and take a look, said Lin Xian. The aura of death around them grew thicker, but Lin Xian was not afraid at all. He activated the red lotus armor on his body and formed a red lotus that enveloped him to resist the aura of death around him. The dark red dragon flew quickly and let out a dragon's roar. His aura was like a furnace of heaven and earth. It was so powerful that the aura of death around him didn't dare to come close. The two of them were like lightning as they rushed forward with large strides. Bang, bang, bang. Wherever they passed, the zombies and skeletons were smashed apart. But gradually more and more zombies appeared. Their bodies even flickered with a metallic glow. Their aura was also much stronger than before. Boom. Suddenly, a black figure appeared in front of them and rushed over. It was a tall zombie. Most of his clothes were rotten, and the exposed skin was cold and metallic. His movements were stiff and strange, but his speed was strange. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Lin Xian and the dark red dragon. What a powerful zombie. It has the aura of a king. Lin Xian was surprised. He realized that the zombie had the aura of a one-star king. Buzz. Chapter 1567. That tall zombie was covered in a murderous aura. His entire body seemed to have turned into a sharp sword as he charged forward. Boom. He stretched out his hand with a cold aura and grabbed at Lin Xian and the dark red dragon. Dang. Lin Xian punched out and hit the zombie's palm. The dark red dragon also waved its dragon claw and slapped out quickly. Instantly, the tall zombie was sent flying. Although he was powerful and had reached the level of a one-star king, he was powerless in front of Lin Xian and the dark red dragon. However, to Lin Xian's surprise, this attack did not kill the zombie. Lin Xian's punch hit the zombie's palm. Although the zombie was pushed back, it did not seem to have suffered any substantial damage. The dark red dragon's claw only dented the zombie's body and did not break it open. What kind of constitution is this? It's so powerful. The dark red dragon was shocked. Even an ordinary 3-star king would not be able to withstand this claw. However, the zombie's body did not crack open. It was too strange. The tall zombie let out a furious roar, and its body suddenly bounced up like a spring and instantly attacked again. His movements were very stiff, but his arms were like 2 demonic blades that slashed in all directions and even cut the void open. Ping ping ping. A low sound rang out as Lin Xian and the dark red dragon engaged in a fierce battle. To be honest, this zombie should have died more than 100 times. However, his constitution was very special. It was like a rare divine weapon that was abnormally tough. In the end, Lin Xian and the dark red dragon were annoyed. With a low roar, Lin Xian waved his hand and the 9 underworld devil flames surged out quickly, forming a ferocious beast that charged forward. Boom. Whoosh whoosh. The 9 underworld devil flames were very terrifying. Even the zombie could not withstand it. Its body began to melt, forming a puddle of molten iron. The puddle of molten iron quickly condensed into a fist-sized iron ball that flickered with a cold light. It even emitted a wave of energy. What is this? It should be able to absorb it, right? Lin Xian waved his hand and grabbed the iron ball. No problem, it can be absorbed. This is the zombie's energy, said Hey Tuesday. That's good. Lin Xian was overjoyed. What he lacked the most now was energy. Holding the mysterious iron atom in one hand, Lin Xian used the longevity secret art to madly absorb the energy inside. At the same time, he and the dark red dragon set off again. Not long after, another change occurred ahead. It was a powerful zombie. It quickly pounced over, but it wasn't completely human. There was even a pair of black wings on his back. What is this? Lin Xian was shocked. He then said to the dark red divine dragon, Ruffian dragon, I'll leave it to you. It's just a Batman. It's no big deal. The dark red dragon god was very knowledgeable and recognized the other party's identity at a glance. Therefore, he waved his dragon claws and quickly rushed over. Although the Batman's aura was stronger than the previous one, the battle ended quickly. The reason for that was because the dark red divine dragon had directly smeared the dragon's blood onto its claws. With a single slap, it had severed the divine dragon's head. A pearl the size of a longan fell out of the Batman's head. The dark red divine dragon grabbed it and swallowed it in one gulp. Not bad. It tastes good. The dark red divine dragon grinned. Following that, the two of them encountered many powerful zombies. In the end, they killed all of them. The energy inside the zombies was also absorbed by them. Therefore, Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon's aura rapidly increased along the way. Finally, they arrived at the end of the cave. The cave was very vast. It was like a huge square. There were countless stone pillars supporting it, and on top of the stone pillars, there were cryptic inscriptions engraved on them. They flickered with a strange light. There were also inscriptions carved on the ground. They were incomparably complicated. The source of those inscriptions all pointed forward. There was a black coffin there. It was emitting a cold and gloomy aura. The coffin was very large. It was 5 meters long and 1 meter tall. At that moment it was lying there quietly. It was like a primordial demonic mountain that made it difficult for people to breathe. Judging from the aura, it was definitely not an ordinary tomb. How is it? Is there anything special around here? What are these inscriptions for? Lin Xian asked. It was similar to a kind of inscription that gathered death chi for cultivation. It should have been set up by the person in the coffin when he was alive. Set it up when he was alive? Could it be that he still wants to cultivate after he's dead? Lin Xian had a strange expression on his face. Ghouls are very strange. I'm not too sure either, but let's open the coffin and take a look. Okay. The two of them discussed for a while and carefully walked forward. The black coffin was very heavy. It was unknown what material it was made of. That weight was even heavier than 10 mountains. Lin Xian reached out his hand, grabbed it and raised it forcefully. Rumble. With a loud bang, the black coffin slowly opened. At the same time, Lin Xian was extremely cautious, afraid that there would be an attack from inside. However, no danger appeared. There was indeed a corpse inside. It was a middle-aged man. His eyes were closed. He was 2 meters tall and wore luxurious clothes. Around him were dozens of gems that flickered with resplendent light. This is top-quality subdivine crystals. The dark red divine dragon exclaimed. It waved its dragon claw and quickly grabbed a few of them. That's right. They were top-quality subdivine crystals. Subdivine crystals were a kind of energy crystal. Naturally, they were divided into grades. Ordinary warriors used ordinary subdivine crystals. Above these, there were many subdivine crystals and supreme-grade subdivine crystals. Different grades had different amounts of energy contained in them. It was like the difference between low-quality spirit stones, middle-quality spirit stones, and top-quality spirit stones. To be honest, Lin Xian had never seen top-quality subdivine crystals before. It was also his first time seeing one. Those subdivine crystals were like colored agates. They flickered with incomparable light and terrifying energy. What's this? Lin Xian's eyes moved and stared at the middle-aged man's hand. The middle-aged man put his hands together and placed them flat on his body. However, Lin Xian's soul power was strong. He naturally discovered that there was something else in the man's hand. He performed the dragon-capturing hands. 2 real dragons rushed out and opened the man's hands. There was something similar to a jade pendant. It was half the size of a palm and flickered with mysterious light. Lin Xian waved his hand and took the jade pendant. He looked at it carefully. What's this? He was very surprised. However, the dark red divine dragon glanced at it and exclaimed, Top-quality subdivine crystal. This is a top-quality subdivine crystal. Top-quality subdivine crystal? Lin Xian was also surprised. Chapter 1568. There was a tinge of anger in his eyes and his calm face became ferocious. Not only that, but his body also started to change and red hair started to grow on his body. Oh no, the corpse is mutating. Seeing this, the dark red divine dragon's scalp went numb. He waved his dragon claws and took away all the high-quality subdivine crystals. At the same time, he retreated rapidly. Lin Xian's body swayed as he retreated backward. He really couldn't figure out how the mysterious corpse that had been fine all this time had mutated. Could it be because of the supreme-grade subdivine crystals? However, there was no time for him to think about it. The corpse stood up and his eyes swept across the area like a rainbow. He cut open a black spatial crack in the void. At that moment, his body was covered with red hair and he looked ferocious. He turned into a bolt of red lightning and charged at Lin Xian at high speed. Bang! He threw out 2 palms and they landed heavily on Lin Xian's body. Lin Xian was immediately pushed back. So powerful. Lin Xian was shocked. He did not expect the mysterious demonic corpse to be so powerful. This palm strike was too terrifying. It caused his chi and blood to roil and almost split open. Fortunately, he had put up a defense and used the red lotus armor. Otherwise, he would have been more seriously injured. Seeing that the palm did not kill Lin Xian, the mysterious demonic corpse roared angrily. The light in his eyes exploded again and he slashed at Lin Xian like 2 long knives. Lin Xian snorted and his body shone with light. It formed a sharp sword chi and slashed forward. Clang, clang, clang. The terrifying sword chi hit the mysterious demonic corpse and made clanging sounds and sparks. However, it could not penetrate the mysterious demonic corpse's body. At the same time, the mysterious corpse had arrived in front of Lin Xian. His palms were like ghost claws that slapped down quickly. You're courting death. Lin Xian snorted. He formed a seal with his palms and pushed them out. Suddenly, a golden heavenly rock appeared in his palms and rushed out. It collided with the mysterious demonic corpse's claws. This time, the mysterious demonic corpse was finally forced back. It let out a furious roar, and the red hair on its body fluttered like red flames. It was incomparably strange. With a wave of his hand, he tore through the void and formed dozens of sharp lights that slashed toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian directly used the dragon sword domain to envelop the other party. Suddenly, green sword chi surrounded the entire space. It was like a rain of swords crazily slashing at the other party. The great dragon sword spirit roared within, emitting a dragon's roar. A terrifying aura permeated the heavens and the earth. For a moment, the entire void was boiling. Bang bang. The dragon sword domain was incomparably powerful. Even if the mysterious demonic corpse was powerful, it was still shaken to the point of continuously retreating. White scars appeared on his body. They were caused by the sword chi. There were even some places that had cracked open. However, not a single drop of blood flowed out. This situation was indeed extremely strange. Not only that, red hair began to grow out from the wounds, causing the wounds to rapidly heal. With a clap of his hands, it was like a demonic tablet that ruthlessly pressed down on Lin Xian. Lin Xian used the dragon sword domain. His body turned into a ray of light and instantly dodged. At the same time, the dark red divine dragon's attack also arrived. Countless dragon claws danced in the air, directly enveloping the mysterious demonic corpse. This attack caused a few more terrifying holes to appear on the mysterious demonic corpse's body. However, they were soon covered by the red hair again. Damn it! What the hell is this thing? Lin Xian's expression was ugly. He had never seen such a strange phenomenon. Because if it was an ordinary king, he would have long been killed under such an attack. But this red-haired zombie seemed to have an immortal body. It was impossible to kill him. Try attacking his head. A2 suggested. Hearing this, the dark red divine dragon spat out a sea of fire. It turned into a long rainbow and instantly slashed at the other party's head. However, it was dodged by the mysterious demonic corpse. As expected, it's his head. The dark red divine dragon was overjoyed because the other party didn't dodge the previous attacks. Instead, he used his powerful physique to resist. But this time he actually dodged. This meant that the other party was afraid. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian was also overjoyed. He took out the 9 darkness demonic sword and his entire body emitted a sharp aura. With a furious roar, his aura could swallow mountains and rivers. The 9 darkness demonic sword erupted with an incomparably terrifying light. The power was so strong that the entire void trembled. With a slash of the sword, a black sword chi slashed down from the sky. It was incomparably terrifying. The void split open and it ruthlessly slashed at the mysterious demonic corpse's head. Buzz. The mysterious demonic corpse turned into a red afterimage and dodged back and forth in the cave, dodging the sword chi. But this time Lin Xian had already locked onto it. Brr. The red-haired zombie roared, and a terrifying light burst out from its eyes. At the same time, the red hair on its body rapidly grew. It was like a red river that spiraled in front of its body, forming a powerful defense. Bang! A shocking sound rang out. The red-haired zombie was sent flying. Not only that, the red hair on its body disappeared for the first time. Yes, that's right. It disappeared. Under Lin Xian's sword chi, it couldn't grow at all. Seeing this scene, the red-haired zombie's eyes revealed a trace of shock. It seemed that it didn't expect that someone could actually injure it. Lin Xian's expression was also grave. The other party's strength was too strong, and it seemed to have an indestructible body. It couldn't be killed at all. Its strength was almost on par with a 4-star king. But fortunately, the power of his great dragon sword soul was displayed at this moment. It could cut off the red hair on the other party's body. It seemed that it was only a matter of time before he killed the other party. The red-haired zombie also felt the danger. It roared and quickly waved its palms. 4 terrifying palm shadows were thrown out and bombarded the surrounding stone pillars. Buzz buzz. In the next moment, the stone pillars were like the pillars of gods and demons. The inscriptions on the stone pillars shone. Together with the inscriptions on the ground, they formed a strange formation. Not good. Damn that red-haired zombie. It actually knows how to use formations. The dark red dragon's expression changed. As a formation expert, he could naturally feel the terror of this formation. Even he couldn't break it in a short time. On the other hand, Lin Xian's expression was grave, and a bright light burst out from his eyes. The blood in his body began to boil. As the successor of the Great Dragon Sword, he had inherited the Great Dragon Sword's bravery and strength. He wasn't afraid of anything. At this moment, Even though the red-haired zombie had activated the mysterious formation, it couldn't stop his shocking battle intent. The blood in his body surged like the roars of dragons and tigers. The great dragon sword soul roared. Beside him, the dragon sword domain was completely activated. A green domain quickly formed to resist the surrounding formation. At this moment, Lin Xian was extremely powerful. With the 9 darkness demonic sword in his hand, it was as if the sword demon had been reborn. Kill. With a roar, the dragon sword domain trembled. Countless sword chi swept out in all directions, each as large as a mountain. These sword chi slashed out in all directions, causing a huge commotion. Chapter 1569. Bang. The formation that had just been formed also shattered in an instant. All the strange scenes and terrifying auras disappeared. Only the green sword chi was left in the air. The red-haired zombie's expression changed drastically when he saw this scene. He couldn't think of what kind of power could destroy his formation in an instant. One had to know that this formation was very strange and couldn't be destroyed at all. However, a human youth in front of him had actually destroyed it. Moreover, he had destroyed it so easily. He couldn't believe it. Although the red-haired zombie couldn't speak, he obviously had the intelligence of a human. His gaze was uncertain, and his heart was filled with shock. In fact, the sword Dao aura emitted by the other party caused his body to begin to tremble. However, he wouldn't sit still and wait for death. In the next moment, he roared angrily, and a dazzling light burst out from his eyes. Then, the red hair all over his body began to burn, forming balls of red flames that completely enveloped his body. Oh no, he's going to go all out. Be careful. The dark red dragon exclaimed. Sure enough, in the next moment, the red-haired zombie turned into a ray of light and instantly charged towards Lin Xian. Let's end this. Lin Xian shouted coldly and raised his combat strength to the limit. Then he waved the 9th Hell Demon sword and stabbed out. Azure Dragon Break. A wisp of black sword light instantly charged forward like a dragon. This move was very terrifying as it directly attacked the red-haired zombie's head. Instantly, the red-haired zombie's head exploded, and its entire body fell to the ground with a bang. There was no blood, but the surrounding cold aura had disappeared. Moreover, the red hair on the zombie's body also quickly disappeared, and finally drilled into its body and disappeared. In addition, a red crystal core fell out of the zombie's body. That was the source of the zombie's energy. Great! Lin Xian retracted his hand and held the red crystal core in his hand. He was extremely happy. The red-haired zombie's strength was close to that of a 4-star king. It was extremely powerful. If he could absorb all the energy inside, he believed that he should be able to break through to the 2-star king realm. Therefore, he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and held the supreme-grade subdivine crystal in one hand and the red crystal core in the other. He used the longevity art to quickly absorb the energy. On the other side, the dark red Shenlong was cleaning up the battlefield, collecting all the valuable items in the cave. Then he started to absorb those high-quality subdivinity crystals. At this moment, Lin Xian's secret art of longevity was circulating madly, displaying a powerful and mysterious power. The energy inside the supreme quality substandard divine crystal and the red crystal core was like a torrential river. It unceasingly poured into Lin Xian's body, cleansing his meridians. Boom! A low voice sounded, and then Lin Xian's aura suddenly soared. Originally, his cultivation base had already reached the late stage of 1-star king realm. Moreover, along the way he had continuously killed zombies and absorbed their crystal cores. His cultivation base had also increased rapidly, and had already reached a critical point. Now, with the supreme-grade substandard divine crystal and the red crystal core, his cultivation had finally reached the 2-star king realm. So strong. Feeling the energy in his body, Lin Xian was overjoyed. After breaking through to the 2-star king realm, his strength had increased greatly. If he faced the red-haired zombie now, he would probably be able to kill it in a few moves. Moreover, his current strength was still equivalent to a 4-star king. He was even confident that he could defeat core disciples like Lu Chao. It seemed like it was time to find an opportunity to become a core disciple. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He decided that when he returned to the sect, he would find Chu Yu and see if there was any way for him to become a core disciple as soon as possible. Only by becoming a core disciple would he be able to find out more about King Pillfeather. On the other side, the dark red dragon had absorbed all the high-quality substandard divine crystals. His cultivation base had also recovered, and he had advanced by another level. Now he had also reached the 2-star king realm. The dragon blood in his body surged like a furnace of heaven and earth, emitting a rumbling sound. Haha, I've recovered a bit more. The dark red dragon laughed loudly. It wouldn't be long before he could recover his full strength. Lin Xian also laughed and said, "Since there's nothing left here, let's go." Thus the two turned around and flew outside. At the same time, outside the cave, several figures were flying towards them at lightning speed. "Senior Brother Lu, we've received news that there's a tomb here." "Yes, I've heard that there are many treasures inside. We spent a lot of money to obtain this information." Several voices sounded. It turned out that these people were Lu Chao and the others. They had actually found this cave and flew over. Soon Lu Chao and the others descended from the sky. Just as they were about to enter the cave, two black figures flew out of the cave. Whoosh whoosh. "Who is it? Stand still." Lu Chao waved his hand and a terrifying palm image immediately pressed down. He had originally come to the cave to search for treasures. How could he not be shocked when two figures flew out of the cave? He had to stop them and investigate thoroughly. As expected. Under the palm image, the two figures that came out of the cave stopped. "What? It's you?" Lu Chao and the others were stunned because they realized that they actually knew the people who came out of the cave. That's right. The people who came out were Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon. Lin Xian was also stunned. He did not expect to meet Lu Chao and the others at the entrance of the cave. "How dare you? Who allowed you to go in? Presumptuous. Hand over all the things that you've obtained inside. Otherwise, I'll make sure you crawl out of here today." A few inner sect disciples beside Lu Chao shouted coldly. They did not take Lin Xian seriously at all because they were elite inner sect disciples and were very powerful. The other party was just a newcomer and could not fight against them at all. "Who do you think you are? How dare you have designs on me? Get lost while I'm in a good mood. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Lin Xian snorted coldly. He had broken through to Two-Star King and was very imposing. "Presumptuous. You're courting death." The inner sect disciples were furious. They did not expect that Lin Xian would dare to talk back to them. They really did not know what was good for them. Lu Chao also snorted coldly. "Lad, I let you go earlier because of the urgency of the matter. I didn't expect you to be so arrogant in front of me. It seems that I can't let you live today." You're really arrogant. Do you think you can kill whoever you want?" Lin Xian sneered. "Let me tell you. I've obtained 2 supreme-grade subdivine crystals and countless treasures in this cave. Come and snatch them if you can." "What? Supreme-grade subdivine crystals?" Hearing this, the inner sect disciples opposite him were shocked. Then their eyes were filled with a fiery glow. Supreme-grade subdivine crystals were extremely powerful sources of energy. If they could obtain them, they would definitely be able to raise their cultivation level again. They might even be able to make a breakthrough. Chapter 1570. He hadn't expected that Lin Fan would have such a fortuitous encounter and obtain 2 supreme-grade subdivine crystals. But soon after, he laughed wildly. "Kid, I have to say that you're really stupid. You actually dared to say that you obtained such a treasure? But very good, he's mine now. Obediently hand over the supreme-grade subdivine crystals, kneel at the side and await my punishment." "Hand it over? That's impossible, I've already absorbed it." Lin Xian shrugged. "Don't even think about it. You won't be able to obtain a supreme-grade subdivine crystal in your lifetime." Scram. "What? You're courting death." Those inner court disciples went crazy and their hearts ached. On the other hand, Lu Chao's face sank, and his eyes shone with a terrifying light. He stared fixedly at Lin Xian and then he frowned. "As expected, you've broken through to the Two-Star King realm. What a piece of trash. 2 supreme-grade subdivine crystals only increased your cultivation by so little? Kid, you dared to waste my supreme-grade subdivine crystals? I'll definitely kill you. You've just absorbed them, so there's probably still dense energy left in your blood. Even if I can't absorb the supreme-grade subdivine crystals, I'll still absorb the energy in your blood." As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chao stretched out his palm, and it was like 5 sharp blades that swiftly slapped towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly and raised his fist to meet the attack. His terrifying fist was like an enormous mountain as it swiftly blasted out. At the same time, he sent a voice transmission. "Ruffian Long, I'll leave those inner court disciples to you. Don't let a single one of them go. Don't worry, it's a piece of cake." The dark red dragon grinned, and his body shot out like a red bolt of lightning. Bang! A shocking blow caused a huge explosion in the air, and then the two figures quickly retreated. Lu Chao took 5 steps back and stabilized his body, but he was extremely shocked. His eyes were filled with shock, and he didn't dare to accept the reality before his eyes. Lin Fan was just a 2-star king who had just entered the inner court, but he had blocked his attack? This was something that he'd never thought possible. Because as far as he was concerned, Lin Fan was just an ant that he could crush with a single finger. Therefore he had never taken the other party seriously. But now not only had his opponent blocked his attack, he had even forced him to retreat. If he hadn't experienced it himself, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. It was simply impossible for a 2-star king to contend against a 4-star king. Behind him, the few inner sect disciples widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. Damn it, what's going on? How could he block senior brother Lu Chao's attack? Dream, I must be dreaming. The few of them shook their heads in disbelief. However, at this moment, the dark red dragon flew over and waved its dragon claws. Hee, ants, you should worry about yourselves first. You're courting death. A 4-horned snake dares to be arrogant in front of us? Catch him, peel his skin, cook him, and eat him. A few of the inner disciples were enraged. One after another, they used their ultimate techniques to attack the dark red divine dragon. Bang bang bang. A few more thunderous noises were heard. Then a few inner sect disciples vomited blood and were sent flying. Their eyes were filled with shock. They couldn't believe that a 4-horned snake could send all of them flying so easily. What was going on? Were the two of them humans or ghosts? How could they have such powerful strength? Seeing the few inner sect disciples vomiting blood, Lu Chao's face turned even uglier. He gritted his teeth and said, Good. Kid, I underestimated you. However, do you think you can be arrogant just because you blocked one of my attacks? Let me tell you, you're too naive. I'll let you know how powerful I really am. Now, it seems like you were the one who killed Fang Li. Lin Shen snorted. So what? Not only am I going to kill him, but I'm also going to kill you. Kill me? You're dreaming. Go to hell. Lu Chao roared. His face was ferocious and a cold, murderous aura shot into the sky. Boundless flames surrounded him, making him look like a god of fire. He waved his hand and a red alchemy cauldron appeared in the air. There were 2 lifelike fire dragons hovering above it. With a wave of his hand, endless flames gathered and formed a fire dragon that roared. A terrifying heat wave covered the sky as if the entire sky had turned into a sea of fire. The fire dragon roared and charged toward Lin Shen. The entire void was left with endless lava as if it had been cut open. Lin Shen was in the dragon sword spiritual domain and it was empty. He emitted a sharp aura like a peerless god of war. Whoosh. He turned into a sword light and dodged the fire dragon's attack. At the same time, he clenched his hand and summoned a small black cauldron. 1000 Beast Cauldron. It was a true earth-grade weapon. In the past, Lin Shen's cultivation was too low to unleash its true power. Now that he was a 2-star king, he had the strength to use the 1000 Beast Cauldron. The palm shadows kept slapping, and the 1000 Beast Cauldron trembled and emitted a black light. One after another, rare beasts swam on top of it. Whoa! It was as if 10,000 beasts were roaring at the same time, emitting a terrifying aura. In a trance, there were countless demonic beasts circling around. With a flick of his finger, a black light gathered and formed a huge hand of death that slapped forward. Bang! With a shocking blow, the huge black hand covered the sky and slapped the fire dragon, breaking it. Boom boom. Sparks flew everywhere and the void was dyed red. What? Just broken. On the opposite side, Lu Chao's pupils constricted. If it was a coincidence that Lin Shen had forced him back the first time, then this time, it was definitely not a coincidence that Lin Shen had broken through his attack again. This time he had even used his own weapon. It could be said that he was going all out. However, Lin Shen could still block it. Damn it, how is this possible? How can this kid have such powerful battle strength? Lu Chao roared and instantly activated his king domain. Immediately, a fiery red domain enveloped him. The terrifying domain distorted the entire void as if it had become a real sea of fire. Kill. Lu Chao roared and charged toward Lin Shen with the red king domain. Soon he collided with the huge black hand. Instantly, the black hand shattered into pieces, unable to resist. Humph, kid, so what if your weapon is powerful? You're no match for me in terms of domains. At this moment, Lu Chao was very confident. He was a 4-star king and his domain was already very terrifying. It was definitely not something that a 2-star king could contend against. He had already seen that the reason Lin Xian had been able to break his attack was because of the small black cauldron. Other than that, it was impossible for Lin Xian to break his attack. Confidence is a good thing, but stupidity is not good. You're obviously the stupidity type. Chapter 1571. As soon as he finished speaking, the dragon sword realm quickly appeared beside him. Suddenly, tens of thousands of sword chi pierced through the sky, and the entire void seemed to have become a killing ground. The monstrous aura stirred up the clouds as if it could kill gods and demons. What? The sword chi? Lu Chao felt the sword chi emitted by the dragon sword realm, and his face changed drastically. To be honest, he had never felt such a sharp sword chi, even though he was far away and had the protection of the king realm. However, he could still feel the killing intent brought by the sword chi. The hair on his body stood on end. Damn it, how can his realm be so strong? I don't believe it. Lu Chao gritted his teeth and crazily activated the Red King realm. Suddenly, endless flames shot up into the sky, and 8 fire dragons circled around his body, quickly attacking forward. Mirror still water. Lin Xian was expressionless. He waved his hand and the dragon sword realm trembled. Countless sword chi circled around, forming a huge sword screen. It was like a mirror, incomparably bright and clean. The 8 fire dragons, with monstrous heat waves, fiercely collided with the mirror surface, and were all immediately reflected back. What? All of them were reflected? How is this possible? Lu Chao was shocked and couldn't believe it. The few inner disciples below had already opened their eyes wide, as if they had seen a ghost. Everyone knew how terrifying Lu Chao was. Among the inner disciples, no one was a match for him. Even among the core disciples, he was one of the stronger ones. But now, a newcomer who had just entered the inner sect was actually able to compete with Lu Chao, and even suppress him. This made them unable to believe it. Impossible, damn it, I don't believe it. How can you be so strong? Lu Chao's hair was disheveled and his face was ferocious. I can only say that you are ignorant. I originally had no enmity with you, but you repeatedly tried to kill me. So, you only have yourself to blame. Now it's all over. Lin Xian pulled out the 9 darkness demonic sword, and tens of thousands of sword chi circled around him. He was like a sword demon, incomparably terrifying. It's over? Impossible, I still have many secret techniques and I still have pills to increase my strength. Brat, let me tell you, my methods are not something you can imagine. As long as I don't care about the price to increase my strength, I can even compete with a 5-star king. What do you have to fight me? Today I will teach you how to kill. After saying that, Lu Chao flipped his palm. Immediately, 2 red pills appeared in his palm. As long as he swallowed 2 red pills, he would be able to stimulate the potential in his body and temporarily obtain great power. However, Lin Xian's expression was ice cold. He gripped the 9 Serenities demonic sword and quickly slid it through the air. Underworld Dao waning moon break. With a wave of his sword, an invisible force condensed in the air. Crack crack. A black crack appeared in the air. It was incomparably terrifying and emitted a strange aura. It was as if a peerless demon had opened its terrifying mouth and was about to devour everything. In the next moment, the spatial crack enveloped Lu Chao's figure. With a miserable shriek, Lu Chao was sucked into the black crack and disappeared. Soon after, the pitch-black crack began to slowly heal. The sky regained its clarity, but Lu Chao's figure had already disappeared. Only the remnant energy still lingered in the surroundings. What happened? Below, a few inner disciples saw this scene and looked at each other. However, after waiting for a long time, they did not see Lu Chao again. This gave them a bad premonition. What did you do to Brother Chao? A few of them asked in horror. He was no longer in this world. Lin Xian shook his head coldly. The move just now had directly cut open the void and connected to the void. As for Lu Chao, he had been exiled and could not return. This outcome was even more terrifying than being killed. You are a demon, not a human. A few inner disciples felt their skin crawl. They turned around and ran. You want to run? Hee. The dark red dragon sneered. Then he opened his mouth and spat out several rays of red light that pierced through the inner disciples. With a wave of his dragon claw, a terrifying dragon flame gushed out and burned the corpses to ashes. After doing all this, he stopped and returned to Lin Xian's side. Let's go. It's about time to go back. Alright then. Let's go to the other mountains next time. The dark red dragon glanced into the distance. Indeed, strictly speaking, they had not entered Feng Mountain yet. They were only at the periphery. Therefore there were not many people nearby. It seemed that the real Feng Mountain and the great ancient tomb would be even more terrifying than the previous cave. The two of them turned into lightning, flew into the sky and disappeared. Lu Chao's incident had caused a sensation in the sect. After all, he was a core disciple and his strength was not bad. Such people were the elites of the alchemy faction. However, after the alchemy faction investigated, they did not find out who did it. Moreover, the culprit had disappeared in Feng Mountain. It was very likely that it was another sect or some existence in the ancient tomb who did it. Therefore, the alchemy faction could only give up on investigating. On the other side, Lin Xian had also returned to the alchemy faction. He stayed for a few days and then prepared to look for Chuyu. He now knew that Chuyu was also a core disciple. However, what surprised him was that Chuyu's cultivation was obviously not a 4-star king. However, if he could become a core disciple, it meant that his attainments in alchemy were definitely extraordinary. However, in the past few days he found out that Chuyu was not only a core disciple, but an extremely powerful one. A personal disciple. That's right, Chuyu was a personal disciple of the alchemy faction's elder. His status was even more noble than a core disciple like Lu Chao. Lin Xian finally understood. No wonder the other party could arrange for him to enter the alchemy faction so easily. It turned out that he was a personal disciple. However, this was even better. He believed that the other party would definitely have a way to promote him to a core disciple. The alchemy faction was located in a continuous mountain range. The inner and core disciples were not on the same mountain peak. Therefore, Lin Xian had to fly away from the inner sect disciples' residence and head to the core disciples' residence. After flying for about half an hour, his body sank and he arrived at the foot of the mountain. Just as he was about to enter, a cold shout suddenly came from ahead. "Stop." The voice was like a clap of thunder. It was abnormally terrifying and caused the void to tremble. Hearing this voice, Lin Xian frowned, but he still stopped in his tracks. Soon, 6 disciples flew over from afar like rainbows. "Who are you? How dare you barge into the core disciples' residence? Aren't you afraid of being killed? This isn't a place where you can enter. Leave quickly. You've misunderstood. I'm here to look for someone," Lin Xian said slowly. "Look for someone? Who is it?" The guards asked coldly. They were not core disciples and were only guards in charge of guarding this place. However, their status and strength had already surpassed the majority of the inner sect disciples. They were extremely powerful. Chapter 1572. "I'm looking for Chuyu," Lin Xian said indifferently. "Chuyu?" Hearing this, their expressions changed. Clearly they knew Chuyu's identity. Fairy Chuyu is a personal disciple. Why are you looking for her? That's right. How could a mere inner disciple know a personal disciple? Kid, I advise you not to lie. Otherwise you'll end up in a miserable state. Whether I know Chuyu or not, wouldn't you know once you report to her? Lin Xian said calmly. If it were an ordinary inner disciple, they would probably be trembling in fear when they met these guards. However, he wouldn't. No matter how strong they were only 3-star kings. As for him, he was someone who could even kill a 4-star king. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't take these guards seriously. Report to you? The guard's lips curled into a cold smile. Kid, we're very busy. We don't have time to report to you. You should come back another day. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. What were they busy with? They obviously wanted to get some benefits from him. However, Lin Xian didn't plan to give them any benefits. He snorted. What, you want to extort me? Aren't you afraid that I'll report it to the sect? Report it to the sect? Then go report it. See if the sect will believe you. The guard sneered. Clearly, they often did this kind of thing. Is that so? If the sect doesn't care, then what about Chuyu? Let me tell you, I'm looking for Fairy Chuyu because it's urgent. If it's delayed, can you bear the consequences? When the time comes and Fairy Chuyu punishes you, I'm afraid you'll end up worse than me. Lin Xian said slowly. You dare threaten us? Kid, you're courting death. The guards were enraged. One of them even snorted coldly and waved his sleeve. Immediately, a huge force surged towards Lin Xian. A mere inner disciple dares to behave atrociously in front of us? You're courting death. Today I'll teach you a good lesson. I'll let you know what kind of attitude you should have in front of me. The sleeve trembled and like a floating cloud, it suddenly grew larger in the wind. It was like a cage of heaven and earth that was about to suck Lin Xian in. This was a very terrifying skill called the Heaven and Earth Sleeve. It was rumored that when it was refined to the extreme, it could swallow the heavens and swallow the earth. Of course, It was impossible for the guardian disciple before him to pull off such a feat. However, collecting the mountains and rivers was not an issue at all. The terrifying sleeve enveloped Lin Xian and was about to swallow him whole. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a flick of his finger, several streaks of sharp sword chi surged out, transforming into a long river that soared into the clouds. Ping ping ping. That terrifying heaven and earth sleeve was instantly slashed by the sword chi and instantly exploded. In an instant, the terrifying scene disappeared. The guardian disciple even took a few steps back, his face extremely ugly. Above his wrist, the wide sleeves were already shattered. His face was ferocious as he stared at Lin Xian. The surrounding guardian disciples also had ferocious expressions. They did not expect that a mere inner disciple would be so powerful that he could destroy the heaven and earth sleeve with a raise of his hand. How dare you behave atrociously here? Take him down. With a furious roar, the remaining guardian disciples immediately acted, wanting to capture Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a flash of his palm, the dragon sword realm quickly flew out. In an instant, it completely enveloped the remaining 5 guardian disciples. Buzz buzz buzz. The sword chi was like a rainbow, incomparably sharp and filled with monstrous killing intent. Countless sword chi surged and surrounded the 5 guardian disciples. As long as they moved, they would be pierced by the sword chi, and hundreds of thousands of holes would appear on their bodies. Immediately, the guardian disciples were stunned, and their faces were extremely ugly. They did not expect that the other party could actually subdue all of them in an instant. One had to know that they were all 3-star kings. And the other party's aura was only that of a 2-star king. How was this possible? Even the strongest inner sect disciples wouldn't be able to do something like this, right? However, they had all seen the strongest few people. But the young man in front of them was incomparably unfamiliar. It was obvious that he had just joined the inner sect. That was why they were so arrogant before, but they did not expect that they would almost be killed. Thinking of this, cold sweat dripped down their bodies, and they no longer dared to be presumptuous in front of Lin Xian. Stop, let's talk nicely. We were wrong before, we apologize to you. We'll go report for you now. The few of them hurriedly apologized. They had no choice. If they dared to say anything else, the sword chi would probably kill them immediately. Hearing this, Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, he removed the dragon sword realm. Soon, the few guardian disciples left to report the news. However, Chuyu did not come out. Instead, a young man in a blue robe walked out. Fairy Chuyu is in seclusion refining a type of pill, so she can't split herself. Since you want to find her, I'll bring you in. The blue-clothed young man said coldly. Moreover, he carefully sized up Lin Xian. When he saw the identity of the disciple and the cultivation of a 2-star king, a hint of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. All right. Lin Xian nodded. He did not expect that the person who came out was not Chuyu, but someone he did not know at all. Looking at the other party's arrogant expression and strong aura, there was no need to think to know that he should be a core disciple. However, he did not care about the other party's attitude as long as the other party could bring him in. Nodding, Lin Xian followed the blue-clothed young man into the mountain range where the core disciples lived. As soon as they entered, the blue-clothed young man walked in front with large strides and said coldly, "This is where the core disciples live, far surpassing your inner sect. There are formations everywhere here, and there are even traps in some places. It can be said that one wrong step will consign you to eternal damnation. With your strength and identity, you have no right to enter this place. However, I'll bring you in for Chuyu's sake. However, you have to know your limits and follow me closely. Don't wander around. Do you hear me clearly?" The blue-clothed young man said coldly. However, Lin Xian did not reply. Instead, he sped up and walked side by side with the blue-clothed young man. "Don't worry, I have some knowledge of formations, so there shouldn't be any danger." Lin Xian looked around and said indifferently, "Even if there is any danger, I can deal with it." Hearing this, the blue-clothed young man's face sank. In his opinion, Lin Xian was too arrogant and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. A small inner sect disciple with a 2-star king cultivation actually dared to boast that he was proficient in formations and could even resist the formations here? The array formation here was no ordinary array formation. Every one of them was extremely terrifying, and inner sect disciples could not withstand them at all. Chapter 1573. However, core disciples were very familiar with the surrounding terrain, so under normal circumstances, they would not enter these formations. Kid, it seems that you're very confident in yourself. Since that's the case, I'm relieved. The man in blue sneered, his eyes full of disdain. He did not believe Lin Xian's words at all. Therefore he planned to teach him a lesson and let him know what it meant to be arrogant. In the next moment, the man in blue's figure swayed, and he could not help but speed up. Like a bolt of blue lightning, he instantly disappeared on the spot and walked forward. Soon he arrived at a safe place. Proficient in formations? Can you handle it? What an idiot. Let me see how you're going to pass through the formations and traps there. The man in blue raised a disdainful smile because in his opinion, the other party would not be able to walk out at all. If he left, he would probably fall into the formation very quickly. At that time he wanted to see if the other party could still be arrogant. The man in blue revealed a sinister smile. To be honest, if the other party was not looking for Chuyu, he would have killed him with a slap. Is that so? I think senior brother is overthinking. Are the formations here as magical as you say? At this moment, a light voice was heard. Hearing this voice, the man in blue jumped in fright. He suddenly turned around and found Lin Xian standing not far away from him. Immediately, his eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. How is this possible? How is this possible? How could he walk out of those formations and traps so quickly? One had to know that he had displayed his powerful speed just now. No one below the 4-star king level could keep up with him. However, the other party had arrived at almost the same time as him. It was too strange. Lin Xian saw the other party's shocked expression and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a mocking smile. Then he said indifferently, "Senior brother, let's go. I have something important to talk to Fairy Chuyu about." Seeing the other party's disdainful smile, the man in blue's face darkened. His eyes flickered with a trace of killing intent. To be honest, he had never been so embarrassed before. Moreover, it was in front of a small inner sect disciple. This made him want to kill him. However, after thinking for a moment, he gave up in the end. Because he didn't know what the relationship between this kid and Chuyu was. Chuyu was a personal disciple. Her status was even higher than that of a core disciple. If he really killed her now, Chuyu would blame him. At that time he would be the unlucky one. The blue-clothed young man snorted again and said coldly, "Come with me." In the end he brought Lin Xian to the mountain peak where Chuyu lived. "Fairy Chuyu is inside. You can wait outside." After saying that, he turned into a blue light and left without looking back. Lin Xian clasped his hands behind his back and looked ahead curiously. The mountains and rivers were clear, just like a fairyland. It was indeed a good place to live and cultivate. This treatment is really different. Lin Xian sighed. He only had a single courtyard, but the core disciples all had their own mountain peaks. This was a world of difference. With a flicker, Lin Xian arrived at the peak of the mountain. There were several palaces in front of him, but he didn't go in. Instead, he found an ancient tree and sat down cross-legged to cultivate. About 2 hours later, a strange fragrance came from the palaces in front of him. The fragrance was very strong. When one smelled it, they would feel the spiritual energy in their body boil. This is a pill fragrance. Lin Xian opened his eyes and revealed a trace of surprise. He could imagine that it was definitely not an ordinary pill. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caused such a strange fragrance. A profound pill. It looks like it's at least a mid-grade profound pill. Lin Xian was shocked. Profound pills were pills used by kings. They were divided into 4 grades: basic, mid-grade, high-grade, and supreme grade. Different grades had different effects. Generally, people below 3-star kings would only use basic grade profound pills. It was very rare to encounter a mid-grade profound pill. After all, even though it was just a difference of 1 word, a mid-grade profound pill was very difficult to refine. With Lin Xian's current state, the failure rate was also very high. However, he didn't expect that Chuyu would actually succeed. He had to admit that it really surprised him. Soon the pill fragrance disappeared. Then, the doors of the palaces slowly opened and a beautiful figure walked in. It was a tall and slender woman. She wore an aqua-green robe. Her skin was fair and her face was exquisite. She looked like a fairy. There was still a faint fragrance on her body. Congratulations on successfully refining a mid-grade profound pill. Lin Xian walked forward and said with a smile. Why are you here?" Seeing the person in front of him, Chuyu was stunned. Then he smiled. "I didn't expect that. Not only are you strong, but your eyesight is also very sharp. You can tell that I'm refining a mid-grade profound pill at a glance. Don't laugh at me. I'm just a small inner disciple. How can I compare to you, a direct disciple? Come in." Chuyu rolled his eyes and waved his hand. Then Lin Xian walked in. How is it? Are you used to living in the alchemy sect? Chuyu asked. It's okay, but it's not as comfortable as you core disciples. Of course. Chuyu smiled. The status of a core disciple and an inner disciple are completely different. It's like the difference between heaven and earth. Then she asked suspiciously, no way you're thinking about becoming a core disciple again. That's right. That's why I came to find you. Heavens, how many days have you been in the inner sect? Only a month? You want to become a core disciple already? That's too fast. I'm afraid this has never happened before in the history of the alchemy sect. Chuyu was shocked. Lin Xian smiled. It didn't happen before, but it doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. Also, I heard that some core disciples have disappeared. No one knows if they're dead or alive. I'm afraid they won't be coming back. Do you have any way to prevent me from becoming a core disciple? Lin Xian asked. Okay. After a while, Chuyu came back to her senses. Indeed, Lu Chao of the core disciples disappeared in Mount Feng. I'm afraid he won't be coming back. So, it's certain that a new core disciple will be chosen. And it's probably something that happened recently. I have to say you're really lucky. You've just arrived and you've already encountered such a thing. One had to know that under normal circumstances, an inner disciple might not encounter such a thing even after 8 to 10 years. Lin Xian only smiled, but he muttered in his heart, how can I not be lucky? Lu Chao was killed by me. A core disciple, a 4-star king. With such a terrifying status and strength, no one would dare to provoke him. Not to mention 8 to 10 years, he might not even die in a few decades. Chapter 1574. Chuyu continued, based on past experience, whenever there's a vacancy in the core disciple position, the top 10 inner disciples will compete for it. The winner will become the new core disciple. I think this time will be no exception. Top 10 inner disciples? Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Can you give me a spot? Chuyu smiled. I've helped you so much. What do you have to give me? Pill formula. Pill formula? Chuyu was confused. This is the alchemy faction. There are countless pill formulas here. I'm a direct disciple. I can have any pill formula I want. You're fooling me with this condition. What if it's an ancient pill formula? Lin Xian smiled. What? Ancient pill formula? You have an ancient pill formula? Chuyu was shocked. She quickly asked, what grade is it? Mid-grade Xian pill. Chuyu sucked in a breath of cold air. Lin Xian smiled. I can give it to you now. He flipped his hand and took out a jade slip. However, Chuyu received the jade slip and quickly examined it. After a while she smiled. Yes, it's an ancient pill formula. It's a mid-grade Xian pill. Where did you get such a good thing from? Chuyu asked doubtfully. Even in the alchemy faction, there weren't many ancient pill formulas. It was good to have one more. Lin Xian smiled and said, I found it in an ancient ruin. You could say that it was a coincidence. Of course he was lying. He had many such pill formulas. King Pill Feather's inheritance wasn't very useful to him now, but he still had wine lords. And the 4th-generation successor of the Dragon Sword had also collected many pill formulas. So, he had a lot of pill formulas in his hands. Then I'll accept it. On the other side, Chuyu happily accepted the pill formula. Then she said, don't worry about the challenge. I'll arrange it for you. However, I have to remind you that the battle this time will be very intense. Because becoming a core disciple is like a carp leaping through the dragon's gate. So, the inner disciples will fight with their lives. That's fine. I'm confident. Lin Xian said. Indeed, he had absolute confidence in his battle strength and alchemy skills. Okay then. I'll let you know when there's news. Chuyu nodded. As a direct disciple, her strength was frightening. So this was something she could do. After that, Lin Xian left. On the other side, the entire inner sect was in an uproar as well. This was because the news was spreading everywhere. That was to choose a new core disciple. The news of core disciple Lu Chao's disappearance was no longer some secret. Now the entire pill sect knew. The most excited ones were, of course, the inner court disciples. Especially the top inner disciples of the inner disciples. Normally they had no chance to become a core disciple, however, things were different now. Now that they were short of a core disciple, the sect would definitely quickly replenish them. And the core was the core of course, the ordinary inner disciples had no hope at all. They could only watch the show. Only the top inner sect disciples would have a chance to fight for it. I'm so excited. The core disciple selection this time will probably be the most intense battle in the sect. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen such an intense battle. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Indeed. But thinking about it, the one most likely to become an inner disciple must be Chiyu. He's recognized as the #1 in the inner sect. However, Luo Yuan is also quite powerful. I heard that his cultivation has improved greatly recently. He might even surpass Chiyu. Yeah, there's also my goddess Luoshi. Her alchemy skills are unparalleled and she's super strong. She'll definitely become a core disciple. Everyone was talking about it excitedly. Lin Xian happened to pass by. When he heard these names, he raised his eyebrows. They should be the strongest among the inner sect disciples. However, he didn't care. With his current strength, he didn't need to care about anyone. Sure enough, 6 days later, the news of a new core disciple selection was officially announced by the sect. Suddenly, the entire inner sect was in an uproar. At the same time, Lin Xian received a letter from Chuyu. The letter stated that he was still qualified to participate in the core disciple selection. After hearing the news, Lin Xian smiled. He could finally become a core disciple. That way, he would be able to learn some of the secrets of the alchemy sect. Moreover, the core disciples had a very high status. They had the power to decide life and death. Some of the more powerful core disciples were actually not inferior to the elders. If he could become a core disciple, it would be a good thing for Lin Xian. The other inner sect disciples gathered at the side to look at the names. Chiyu, Luo Yuan, and Luo Shi. One by one, familiar names appeared in front of them. That's right, the top 10. It's really the top 10 inner sect disciples. I knew it. Everyone nodded. It was the same in the past. The top 10 inner sect disciples would compete for a core disciple spot. However, they were soon stunned. Because they found the 11th person at the bottom of the list. Lin Xian. Who is Lin Xian? Is he famous? I don't know. I've never heard of him. We all know the famous geniuses in the inner sect, but we've never heard of Lin Xian. Who is he? For a moment, everyone was very confused and started discussing. Obviously, they could not understand this name that suddenly appeared. However, soon someone said, "Right, wasn't there an inner sect disciple who just joined a month ago? I think his name is Lin Xian." What? A new inner sect disciple who just joined a month ago? Lin Xian? Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. Heavens, what kind of joke is this? A newcomer can enter the core disciple selection list? How is that possible? Yeah, could it be the same name? Maybe the sect made a mistake. Yeah, there were only 10 people before. Why are there 11 now? And it's a newcomer. This doesn't make sense. Everyone was discussing. However, in the end they found that the sect did not make a mistake. Moreover, it was the newcomer who had just joined the inner sect a month ago. Suddenly, everyone was in an uproar. The entire inner sect was in an uproar. They really could not understand. How could a newcomer who had just entered the inner sect be on the list? I heard that when Lin Xian entered the inner sect, he was promoted directly. It seems that he has some background. Chapter 1575. The top 10 geniuses all have powerful backgrounds. Most of them have core disciples behind them, and some even have elders behind them. That's right. Even if there's one more person, it shouldn't be Lin Xian. The top 15 are all qualified to enter. But why is it a newcomer? Everyone was dissatisfied with the decision. However, this was the sect's decision and they could not change it. The crowd snorted. What's the point of being on the list? If he's not strong enough, he'll still be eliminated. That's right. He just entered the inner sect a month ago. How powerful can he be? The last time I saw him, he was only a 1-star king. What? Only a 1-star king? That's not even as strong as me? Haha, I really want to see Lin Xian get beaten black and blue in the arena. Why bother? With his cultivation, he'll just be humiliating himself. Everyone sneered. However, in the crowd, when Zhou Hai and the others saw this, their eyes widened in shock. They had seen Lin Xian's skills and knew that Lin Xian was not as simple as he looked. One had to know that even the extremely terrifying Fang Li had been killed by Lin Xian with ease. Therefore, they believed that Lin Xian would be able to participate in the core disciple competition. However, only a few of them believed him. Most of the others were sneering at him in disdain and jealousy. Therefore, no one thought highly of Lin Xian. The top 10 geniuses in the inner sect sneered when they heard the news. Their eyes were full of disdain. None of them took Lin Xian seriously. In their eyes, a newcomer who had just entered the inner sect was not worth mentioning. They could kill him easily with a finger. Their real targets were Qiyu, Luo Yuan, and Luoshi. They were their real enemies. Alchemy Sect, Baiyin Mountain. This was a very important place in the inner sect. Every time an elder gave a lesson, it would be held here. Today no elder was giving a lesson, but the number of people who came to Baiyin Mountain was many times greater than before. On top of that, even more disciples were arriving from all directions. Because today was the day of the inner court competition, the selection of core disciples. This kind of opportunity could be said to be extremely rare. Normally there were very few opportunities to be promoted to core disciple. If Lu Chao hadn't gone missing, they wouldn't have obtained such a precious spot. In this place, the top disciples would engage in an intense battle. To the ordinary inner disciples, this was undoubtedly a grand battle event. Halfway up Mount Baiyun, there was a huge piece of flat land. It was covered with green stone slabs. It was the White Cloud Plaza. At this moment, countless people had gathered in the White Cloud Square. They were like dark clouds. Basically, all the inner disciples had arrived. The main characters of this competition, the elite disciples of the inner court, had also arrived one by one. Every time one of them appeared, it would cause a wave of exclamations. It could not be helped, as the top 10 inner disciples were extremely powerful and had outstanding reputations. They already possessed extremely high statuses among the inner disciples. 10 inner disciples stood in a row at the front. Those people were dressed in luxurious clothes and had dignified appearances. They carried a powerful and confident aura. However, at this moment, another silhouette slowly walked forward. Who was that? Everyone was puzzled as they realized that it was an unfamiliar face. Young, handsome, and confident. However, when they sensed the cultivation of the other party, they were all dumbfounded. 2-star king. He was only a 2-star king. Oh, I know he's that Lin Xian. What? He's Lin Xian? He really dares to come? With his cultivation he dares to come on stage? What a disgrace. He's really courting death. What can he do? He's probably a hothead who thinks he can become a core disciple just because he has some background. But he doesn't know that this battle is about strength. Any schemes and tricks are useless. Cold laughter could be heard as the entire plaza fell into an uproar. Lin Xian heard the voices around him and narrowed his eyes. He snorted coldly. He did not say anything because later he would use his strength to let everyone know who was the frog at the bottom of the well. Brother Lin, you can do it. In the crowd, Zhou Hai and the others saw this and cheered. Lin Xian smiled and greeted Zhou Hai and the others. Soon Lin Xian came to the front of the plaza. The 10 inner sect geniuses in front of him were indeed arrogant and looked at him with disdain. In their eyes, Lin Xian was not qualified to stand with them. Kid, get lost. This is not a place where you can come. I advise you to admit defeat and leave quickly. You'll only embarrass yourself later. Trash wants to become a core disciple? What a joke. A few disdainful laughs could be heard. The others also looked at Lin Xian with arrogance. On the other hand, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and stared at the 3 arrogant fellows. He asked coldly, "May I know the names of the 3 geniuses?" Yang Fan, Qing Feng, Wu Kuan. The 3 of them said arrogantly. Then they sneered, "Kid, you're really ignorant. You don't even know our names?" Lin Xian said coldly, "It's not too late to know now. I'll remember the 3 of you. I won't be merciful to you in the competition later. I'll let you know the consequences of talking nonsense." After saying that, he turned and stood aside. "Kid, you're courting death." The 3 of them were furious. A new inner sect disciple dared to threaten the 3 of them? He was really courting death. The remaining 7 inner sect elites also widened their eyes in disbelief. Many gazes continuously sized up Lin Xian, wanting to know where he got his confidence from. One had to know that he was only a 2-star king. So what if he was strong? At most he was equivalent to a 3-star king. However, they were 3-star kings and most of them were late-stage 3-star kings. If they used some secret techniques they could even contend with 4-star kings. They were extremely powerful. They could be said to be the top group of people in the inner sect. Now, a new ant dared to look down on them? It was truly unbelievable. "Kid, I'll teach you a lesson now. You don't know your place." The few of them were about to attack. However, at this moment, a few air-rending sounds could be heard from afar. A few figures were flying toward them like rainbows. It's the core disciples and elders. In the crowd, the inner sect disciples exclaimed. Everyone looked up at the sky. Upon seeing this, the 3 inner disciples who were about to attack immediately halted their actions and harumphed coldly. "Kid, you're lucky. However, you won't be so lucky in the competition later. Chapter 1576. Kid, you're lucky, but you won't be so lucky in the competition. I'll cripple you in front of everyone. That's what you get for messing with us. Kid, you're dead meat. Just you wait. A few threatening voices were heard. Then the three of them ignored Lin Xian and looked at the sky. Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. He did not care about these three arrogant guys at all. No matter how strong they were only slightly stronger than Fong Li. Compared to a true core disciple like Lu Chao, they were a far cry. He could even kill Lu Chao, let alone these three inner sect disciples. He smirked and looked up at the sky as well. There were 5 or 6 rainbows in the sky. They arrived above Baiyun Mountain in the blink of an eye. Then their figures flickered and appeared on the square. 2 of them were elders in robes. Their hair and beards were white, and their bodies were full of power. The other 3 were young, 2 men and 1 woman. The woman was Chuyu. The other 2 young men were also handsome, and their bodies were surrounded by dazzling light. Undoubtedly they were all core disciples. Greetings, elders. All the inner sect disciples shouted at the front. Then they began to discuss quickly. Most of them looked at Chuyu and the other 2. When the top 10 inner sect disciples saw Chuyu and the others, their eyes turned red and they trembled with excitement. Idols, these were their idols. At the same time, they were extremely excited because after today, one of them would become a core disciple like a carp leaping through the dragon gate. They would be above all the other inner sect disciples. Thinking of this, they were excited. Chuyu looked in Lin Xian's direction and revealed a charming smile. Instantly, the inner sect disciples went crazy. They had never seen such a beautiful smile before. So beautiful, everyone exclaimed. I wonder who that fairy is smiling at? Needless to say, it must be one of the top 10 inner sect disciples. The others have no chance at all. The top 10 inner sect disciples were also excited. Their eyes turned red. They thought that Chuyu was smiling at them. However, only Lin Xian understood that Chuyu was smiling at him. Thus, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he smiled and nodded in response. Of course, no one paid attention to Lin Xian. Otherwise, his action would cause everyone to go crazy again. Then, under the instructions of the 2 elders, everyone retreated to the back, leaving enough space for them to move. In the center of the square, a 100-foot-long battle array appeared. It shone with countless lights. Suddenly, the spiritual energy in the surroundings rolled violently and gathered around it. This was a defensive array naturally to protect Baiyun Mountain. Otherwise, these genius disciples could destroy the mountain with a wave of their hands. The rules of the competition was simple. Those who lost with more than 3 rounds. Only when the final 3 were chosen would the final battle begin. Now the core disciple selection. A dignified voice rang out like a clap of thunder, spreading in all directions. Suddenly the entire square quieted down. Everyone widened their eyes and looked ahead carefully. As for the inner disciples, they held their breaths. They knew that it was time for them to be tested. In front of them on the Baiyun Square, the battle array flickered. Under the feet of Lin Xian and the other 10, there were circles of light that flickered. When 2 of the circles lit up, it was time for the 2 to fight. This was a random selection. No one could tamper with it. Soon the light flickered. The light under the feet of 2 people lit up. Then the 2 of them appeared on the battle array in front of them. Of the 2 youths, one was Ding Li, ranked 9th, and the other was Wu Kuan, the arrogant Wu Kuan, ranked 7th. Ding Li, you're no match for me. Back off now. Don't embarrass yourself. We'll know if I can beat you after we fight. Ding Li gritted his teeth. Although his ranking was lower than Wu Kuan's, he would not admit defeat. You're really stubborn. Since that's the case, I'll teach you a lesson. Wu Kuan sneered and attacked quickly. The 2 of them exchanged 50 moves. Ding Li, who was ranked 9th, was hit by Wu Kuan's punch. He spat out blood and flew backward. I told you you're no match for me. Wu Kuan looked arrogant after defeating his opponent. At the same time, he turned and stared at Lin Xian. Kid, you'll end up worse than him later. Sensing that aura, the surrounding disciples all trembled. Lin Xian, on the other hand, completely ignored the other party. Of course, this was just a small interlude. Next, the competition proceeded quickly. These disciples were the top geniuses in the inner sect. Each of them was terrifying. Their battles were very exciting. Next, it was the young man named Yang Fan's turn. He was more powerful than Wu Kuan. Therefore, he defeated his opponent in 30 moves. Qiyu, Luo Yuan, and Luoshi, who were ranked in the top 3, were even more powerful. They defeated their opponents in 10 moves. The three of them formed the first echelon and were above the rest. However, at this moment, a light flashed under Lin Xian's feet. "Is it my turn?" Lin Xian whispered. Then, his body flickered and he appeared in the arena. "Ah, my luck is really too good. I actually met an ant. This battle would be as easy as blowing off dust." At the same time, an arrogant laugh was heard. Then a figure flew forward. Lin Xian's opponent was one of the arrogant young men, Qing Feng. He was ranked 10th and was very nervous. He was afraid that he would not be able to pass the first round. However, it seemed that his luck was too good. It was his first time meeting a newcomer who had just entered the inner sect. This was great news for him. Seeing this, the others also exclaimed, while the few inner court geniuses whispered to each other. "Qing Feng is so lucky. It seems that he will be able to survive the first round. Yes, that kid is so weak. He can probably send him flying with one slap. What a pity. It seems that I don't have to do anything." Wu Kuan sneered. But it was good. Qing Feng was enough to deal with that kid. At the same time, he did not forget to remind Qing Feng, "Qing Feng, don't be soft. Teach this kid a lesson." "Don't worry, Brother Wu. I know what to do." In the arena, Qing Feng replied. Then he looked at Lin Xian and said coldly, "Kid, you didn't expect this, did you? It's your misfortune to have met me. But now it's too late for you to beg for mercy. I will teach you a lesson in front of everyone. I'll let you know that ants are not allowed here." Chapter 1577. The others also laughed because no one was optimistic about Lin Xian. A 2-star king and a 3-star king were not on the same level. The outcome would be decided in one move. The surrounding inner sect disciples also looked on with a mocking expression. Even the 2 core disciples who came frowned. They could not imagine how a 2-star king could participate in such a competition. However, the 2 elders asked in a low voice, Is this the person you recommended? Can he really do it? He's only a 2-star king. Don't worry, elders. There will be no problem." Chuyu stood up with a smile. The 2 elders nodded and did not say anything. However, their eyes were filled with disbelief. Lin Xian said coldly when he heard his opponent's clamor from the battle array arena. "You'll pay for your cheap mouth. You're courting death." Qing Feng roared in anger. His 5 fingers turned into claws and grabbed at Lin Xian. The horrifying palm extended like a 5-fingered mountain and shrouded Lin Xian at high speed. Lin Xian snorted. His eyes shone with a cold light. He clenched his fist and punched. Boom. The punch was extremely terrifying. It was as bright as the sun and the entire void was burning. Bang. An earth-shattering sound was heard as the 2 palms collided. The entire space shattered. Crack, crack. A blood-curdling scream was heard, accompanied by the sound of bones breaking. Then a figure was sent flying. "Humph, the outcome has been decided. I've said that Lin Xian can't do it. The 2-star king. How dare he go up with such strength? He's courting death." The surrounding disciples were discussing. As for the genius martial artists in the top 10, they were all sneering at him. "It's over so soon? What a piece of trash." Wu Kuan said coldly. "It seems that I won't have a chance to fight." On the other side, Yang Fan was also disdainful. The others were also mocking. However, they were all stunned in the next moment. Yang Fan and Wu Kuan widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. The surrounding inner disciples also exclaimed, "What? That's impossible." It turned out that the light on the array arena had disappeared, revealing the scene inside. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, looking calm. Beside him, Qing Feng was holding his arm and half kneeling on the ground with a ferocious expression. There was still blood flowing on the ground. Now they realized that the one who was screaming was not Lin Xian but Qing Feng. How could that be possible? Everyone was stunned and could not believe it. That was Qing Feng. He was a genius disciple ranked in the top 10 of the inner sanctum, and he had even reached the late stage of 3-star king realm. His strength was extremely terrifying. However, Lin Xian's level as a star king. For a moment, everyone was stunned on the spot. On the other side, Qing Feng was half kneeling on the ground. He was also panicking. He shook his head frantically. "Impossible. Damn it. This is impossible. I don't believe it." He could not believe it and thought it was an illusion. However, the pain that came from his palm made him realize that this was not an illusion, nor was it a dream. It was real. He had been injured by a 2-star king realm. He was injured by a punch. "Humph, I told you that you would pay the price for your foul mouth. This is just the beginning." Lin Xian snorted and took a step forward. Suddenly, the light under his feet shone and formed a sword ray. Lin Xian appeared in front of his opponent in an instant. So fast. Seeing this scene, everyone cried out in surprise because that speed shocked them. Even the ordinary inner court disciples couldn't catch Lin Xian's trajectory at all. Even the top 10 sky prides of the inner sect were frowning. On the array arena, Qing Feng's expression changed drastically. He screamed in horror, "What are you trying to do?" Slap. However, the answer he got was a slap. The slap landed on Qing Feng's face and broke all of his teeth. Blood splattered in the air. Qing Feng's face became swollen in an instant. He looked like a pig's head. However, Lin Xian did not let him go. He waved his palm continuously. Suddenly, the crisp sound of a slap echoed throughout the valley. The 10th slap. Qing Feng was sent flying and crashed to the side, creating a huge crater. His face was unrecognizable. His body kept twitching. He had suffered severe internal injuries. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Shock, absolute shock. For a moment, the hundreds of thousands of disciples in the White Cloud Square were silent. Everyone was stunned. Lin Xian was weak? Trash? Did he get in through the back door? Everyone's mouth twitched. They felt that their faces were swollen. If such a person was trash, then no one in the inner sect could be considered a genius. He had completely defeated the top 10 geniuses in the inner sect. However, they still could not believe it. Lin Xian was only a star king. How could it be possible for him to fight above his level? Even the two elders were astonished. Now they knew why Chuyu had such a confident smile. Lin Xian was definitely not trash. He was a genius. A peerless genius. He had even surpassed most of the disciples in the alchemy faction and could compete with the geniuses in the sacred ground. Only the geniuses in the sacred ground or the disciples of the clan of the ancients could defeat a star king in the advanced stage. However, they did not expect such a person to appear in the alchemy faction. We must train this person well. The two elders made up their minds. The other two core disciples beside them also looked solemn. They wanted to watch a show, but they did not expect to see such a shocking scene. In the next moment, they stared at Lin Xian with shining eyes. The inner sect geniuses were even more shocked. Their mouths were wide open in disbelief. Wu Kuan and Yang Fan's faces were terrifyingly gloomy. They did not expect that the ant they despised was a giant dragon. He was even more terrifying than them. Damn it! How can he be so powerful? The two of them gritted their teeth. After Lin Xian sent Qing Feng flying, his body swayed and he returned once again. However, he stared at Wu Kuan and Yang Kuan. "Don't worry. The two of you can't run away. I'll deal with you personally later," Lin Xian said coldly. "You're courting death. How dare you?" The two of them were furious. "Kid, don't be too arrogant. You may be strong, but so what? Qing Feng is only ranked 10th among the inner sect disciples. He's nothing compared to us." Chapter 1578. The two of them swore that they would defeat their opponent in the battle. Moreover, they had to severely injure their opponent, preferably cripple him. Only then would they be able to prevent future troubles. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly and ignored the two of them. There was no need to say anything now. He would just meet them in the battle arena. He would not stop until his opponent's face was swollen. Next, the competition continued. Another genius went up to fight. Soon the crowd exclaimed again. This time it was Qiyu. Qiyu, the number 1 inner sect disciple, was recognized as the strongest inner sect disciple. He had a high chance of becoming a core disciple. Now that he went up, he attracted a lot of attention. Even Lin Xian squinted his eyes and looked carefully. A figure appeared in front of him. He was burly, had a cold expression, and had a valiant aura around him. He was like a god of war as he strode forward. Opposite him was a similarly fierce young man. His eyes were like lightning and he was also very fierce. He was Guxiaotian, ranked 5th. "I didn't expect that my opponent would be you." Guxiaotian's voice was deep, like a bell resounding through the void. Qiyu nodded slightly, then said in a deep voice, "Show me your full strength." "Let me see your strength." "You will see," Guxiaotian replied. Then a shocking light burst out from his eyes. In the next moment, countless purple flames appeared around him, forming a powerful king's domain. With a roar, Guxiaotian charged forward with the purple flame domain. Facing Qiyu, he did not dare to be careless at all. Therefore he used his strongest skill right from the start. On the other hand, Qiyu roared to the sky. Endless light rushed out from his body, and his red hair fluttered like red flames. Behind him, a burning moon quickly appeared, exuding a monstrous aura. Flaming moon palm. With a wave of his palm, an endless sea of fire condensed, forming a burning moon that pressed forward. In the next moment, the two attacks collided. The two terrifying flames burned silently, but the sky kept cracking. The purple flame domain and the burning moon kept colliding, eroding and attacking each other. The overflowing energy turned into waves that swept in all directions, causing the crowd to retreat in shock. Fortunately, there was a formation that formed a strong defense. Otherwise, this attack would have definitely shattered the entire White Cloud Mountain. In the end, the two types of flames erupted with unparalleled power, blasting one black hole after another into the void. Guo Xiaotian, on the other hand, vomited blood and was sent flying. He had lost. Even though he had used an extremely powerful domain technique right from the start, he had still lost. In fact, Qiyu didn't even use his king's domain. He only used a palm technique to achieve victory. Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely shocked. They did not dare to imagine just how strong Qiyu was. So strong. I'm afraid no one is his match. Yeah, the core disciple spot this time is very likely to be his. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Even the two elders nodded their heads slightly. Facing Qiyu's strength, those inner sect geniuses all felt a sense of powerlessness. However, there were a few exceptions. Luo Yuan, who was ranked second, coldly snorted, his eyes flashing brilliantly as he stared at Qiyu. And Luoshi, who was ranked third, also had a cold expression. Her delicate face was filled with seriousness. On the other side, Lin Xian nodded his head slightly. To be honest, Qiyu's strength was indeed not bad. Although he was only a late-stage 3-star king, he was close to becoming a 4-star king. If he did not participate in the competition, no one among the inner sect disciples would be Qiyu's match. Unfortunately, with him participating in this competition, Qiyu would definitely not win in the end. Then the competition continued. Lin Xian went on the stage again. To everyone's surprise, Lin Xian's opponent this time was Wu Kuan. Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed again. Wu Kuan was one of the people who had mocked Lin Xian before. The other person, Qing Feng, had already been beaten into a pig's head. Would Wu Kuan win? Or would he be beaten into a pig's head? Everyone was looking forward to it. Wu Kuan's face was terrifyingly gloomy as he gritted his teeth. He did not expect to meet Qiyu again so soon. This made him feel a sense of fear. This was because the strength that Lin Xian had displayed previously had shocked him greatly. But soon he comforted himself. Careless. It must be Qingfeng's carelessness that allowed Qiyu to win. If he used his full strength this time, he would definitely be able to kill Qiyu. With a cold shout, Wu Kuan appeared on the stage and said coldly, "Kid, don't be arrogant. I will suppress you later." Is that so? I'm looking forward to it. Lin Xian shrugged and said indifferently, "Do you want me to only use one hand? You are courting death." Wu Kuan roared. As an inner sect genius, when had he ever been looked down upon like this? With a roar, he rushed over. Lightning Fire Domain. Wu Kuan immediately unleashed his king's domain, intending to kill Lin Xian. He would not give Qiyu any chance. Flames filled the air as lightning intersected. The entire void was extremely violent. The power of fire and lightning intersected, creating thousands of rays of light that caused people's hearts to palpitate. In an instant, Wu Kuan arrived in front of Lin Xian and attacked with his lightning fire domain. "Ah, kid, go to hell." Wu Kuan laughed sinisterly. The inner sect disciples around him also exclaimed. They did not expect Wu Kuan to use his secret technique right from the start. He did not give Qiyu any chance. It's over. Lin Xian is in danger. Yeah, Wu Kuan is ranked 7th. He is definitely not someone Qing Feng can compare to. Everyone was discussing. At this moment, everyone looked forward. However, Lin Xian looked calm. He looked at Wu Kuan, who was charging at him, and sneered. Then he raised his palm and slapped forward. What? He hasn't used his domain? Seeing this, everyone was shocked and could not believe their eyes. Even the inner sect experts frowned. They thought that Lin Xian was too arrogant. Slap. However, in the next moment, a crisp sound was heard. Lin Xian slapped Wu Kuan's face and sent him flying. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They did not expect the slap to hit Wu Kuan. Wu Kuan did not dodge at all. Suddenly, everyone's mouth twitched. Many of them even touched their faces subconsciously. Judging by the power of the slap, half of Wu Kuan's face would definitely be smashed. That was indeed the case. Wu Kuan was sent flying with half of his face smashed. He could not believe what he had just seen. He had already used his king's domain and used his strongest strength. However, he was still sent flying. Chapter 1579. Next he suffered the same fate as Qing Feng. He was slapped into a pig's head and thrown out of the arena. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. They did not expect the battle to end so quickly. It was simply a one-sided beating. Heavens, just what realm has his strength reached? Why do I feel like he's a bottomless pit? That's right. To be able to send Wu Kuan, who is ranked 7th, flying with a single slap, I'm afraid only the top 5 experts can do that. Are you kidding me? He's at least at the level of the top 3. Everyone was shocked and the inner sect geniuses were frowning. They realized that they had once again underestimated the young man in front of them. Even in Luoxi Luo Yuan, and the others frowned at the power he had displayed. What an interesting kid. The two elders' eyes lit up as they stared at Lin Xian. Soon the first round was over. Then came the second round and the third round. Of course, some people were eliminated in the middle. After the fourth round, more people were eliminated. The battle between the crowd became more and more intense. Soon, the crowd in the White Cloud Square exclaimed again because the competition had reached a climax. And Luoxi, who was ranked 3rd, was fighting against Du Luo Yuan, who was ranked 2nd. And Luoxi was wearing a blue robe. She looked like a fairy and was extremely beautiful. Beside her, countless blue flames were rolling like an ocean. With a wave of her hand, the blue flames instantly enveloped the entire arena. Then an ice blue sword quickly formed in the flames. Thousands of rays of cold light were emitted, and the terrifying aura seemed to be able to tear the sky apart. On the other side, Luo Yuan snorted coldly, and a bright light burst out from his eyes. Countless wolf shadows appeared in the air, each of them exuding a terrifying power. A giant blue sword was waved, carrying a bright light, and like a meteor, it slashed forward fiercely. As for the tens of thousands of divine wolf phantoms, they moved rapidly, blotting out the sky and covering the earth, filling the entire space. A fierce collision sound was heard, and the entire space was hit by a huge collision. With a loud bang, sparks flew everywhere. Everyone retreated in horror. This kind of attack was too terrifying. Just the aftershock alone was enough to destroy everyone. The two peerless experts kept exchanging blows, and each blow was earth-shattering. Violent energy roared like an ocean. After hundreds of blows, the blue sword exploded and turned into countless flames again, spreading in all directions. And Luoxi was defeated. But on the other side, Luo Yuan was also suffering. His face was pale and he didn't have much strength left in his body. It could be said that the victory was very dangerous. Many sighed. And Luoxi was the goddess in their hearts, yet she had been defeated. However, it had to be said that this was definitely a shocking battle. Every strike made people's hearts jump. Not long after, Lin Xian went up again. His opponent was Yang Fan, who was ranked 4th. Yang Fan was much stronger than Wu Kuan. However, he was still defeated by Lin Xian. Moreover, his face had been beaten until it looked like a pig's head, and he didn't escape this fate. From then on, everyone was extremely shocked. The strength that Lin Xian had displayed was too strong. Even Yang Fan, who was ranked 4th, was not his match. With such strength, he definitely had the qualifications to enter the top 3. Until now, no one thought that Lin Xian was weak. Even the majority of the inner sect geniuses were ashamed of their inferiority. This was because they were unable to reach such a level of strength. And Luoxi, who was ranked 3rd, and Luo Yuan, who was ranked 2nd, looked even more dignified. They didn't expect that at this time, a peerless expert would appear. And it was a newcomer. The 6th match. And Luoxi and Qiyu met. Everyone watched nervously. And Luoxi also used all her strength in this battle, but she was defeated after 50 moves. And she was defeated wholeheartedly. It couldn't be helped. Qiyu was really too strong. That burning flaming moon was extremely terrifying. It seemed to be able to suppress everything in the world. This made everyone feel despair. Next, not long after, Lin Xian finally met Luo Yuan. Suddenly, everyone was excited. Because the strength that Lin Xian displayed was definitely at the level of the top 3, and Luo Yuan was even stronger. He was ranked 2nd only to Qiyu. This was undoubtedly going to be a fierce battle between dragons and tigers. In the ring, Luo Yuan's eyes were cold. He stared at Lin Xian like a divine wolf. He said in a deep voice, "I admit that you are very strong beyond everyone's expectations. But against me you have no chance of winning." It's useless to say more. Let's fight, Lin Xian said indifferently. Boom. Luo Yuan roared. Suddenly, countless divine wolf phantoms filled his surroundings. Each of them was more than 3 meters long and had a pair of divine wings on their back. They exuded a terrifying aura. This is Luo Yuan's unique skill, divine wolf howling the sky. I wonder what Lin Xian will use to resist it? I don't think he has a chance. After all, Luo Yuan is second only to Qiyu. He is the only one who can compete with Qiyu. No matter how strong Lin Xian is, he is probably only on par with Luoshi. I'm afraid he will still lose to Luo Yuan. While everyone was discussing, Luo Yuan had already made his move. He brought the divine wolf phantoms with him and quickly charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian looked calm. He formed a seal with his palms and immediately displayed the Nine Heavens transformation. A huge 9-headed snakelet took shape in front of him. Its body was as huge as a mountain, and its 9 heads swayed in the air. Instantly, lightning, flames, frost, cold wind, light blades, and various other attacks flew out of the 9 heads and rushed forward. Boom. The divine wolf phantoms were pierced through and turned into spiritual energy that dissipated in the air. What? He actually pierced through them? Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed in shock. They had never expected that Lin Xian would have such a method capable of instantly defeating a large number of divine wolf phantoms. Even Luo Yuan on the opposite side was moved. The next moment he roared, "Wolf conquers the world." As his voice rang out, purple radiance erupted from the eyes of the divine wolf phantoms. All the phantoms merged rapidly, forming a huge divine wolf that walked between the heavens and the earth. The divine wolf looked ferocious and terrifying. It walked upright like a giant, black fog rolling around its body and emitting a terrifying energy. Not only that, a huge black saber appeared in its hand. It flickered with an incomparably dark radiance. At this moment, Luo Yuan finally unleashed his strongest technique. With a roar, the wolf god phantom brandished its huge black saber and viciously slashed forward. The saber flashed, shattering the void. The saber cleaved the 9-headed snakelet in half. Instantly, all the flames, lightning, hailstones, and other energies disappeared. How powerful! Seeing this scene, many inner court disciples exclaimed in surprise. It's out. This is Luo Yuan's strongest technique. That Lin Xian definitely won't be able to block it. Everyone held their breaths and watched carefully. Even Lin Xian was slightly astonished. This was the only person capable of blocking a single attack of his. Chapter 1580. Lin Xian nodded. Then he clenched his fist and slammed it forward. Instantly, the great dragon sword soul in his body revolved. Boundless spiritual energy gathered and formed 2 huge steels in the sky. The steels were formed by spiritual energy. They shone brightly and illuminated their surroundings. Although they weren't real, they were like ancient divine steels. They emitted a mysterious energy that caused everyone's heart to palpitate. Suppress. Lin Xian's palm slammed down. Instantly, the ancient steels in the sky pressed down slowly. Shockwaves rolled and the void shattered. The ancient steels directly suppressed the terrifying wolf god. The wolf god howled madly. Black energy surged out of his body, forming a hellish scene. The black saber in his hand slashed in all directions, creating a black hole in the void. However, he couldn't escape from the divine steels in the sky. In the end, he was trapped in the void and howled in pain. Everyone was stunned. After a long time, they all inhaled a mouthful of cold air. As for Luo Yuan, he was stunned. His mind was blank. He couldn't believe it. His strongest technique had actually been easily suppressed by someone else. Moreover, he realized that his opponent had held back. Otherwise, he would have been seriously injured. He might even have been killed. You've won. You're very strong. I've lost. Finally, Luo Yuan sighed and admitted defeat. The moment these words came out, the crowd went into an uproar. Shocking. This was too shocking. Even the second-ranked genius had admitted defeat. Had Lin Xian become so strong? At this moment, even the first-ranked Qiyu had a solemn expression. The eyes of the core disciples shone. The 2 core elders were also extremely excited. They realized that Lin Xian was truly a peerless genius. He was comparable to those from the sacred land. At this point in the competition, it was clear that everyone had a record of defeat. Only Lin Xian and Qiyu had a record of complete victories. Therefore, the core disciple position would be decided between the 2 of them. The winner would be the next core disciple. At this thought, everyone couldn't help but get excited. This was going to be the strongest battle of the inner disciples. At this moment, Luo Yuan and Luoshi Chuyu and the other core disciples all focused their gazes forward. Chiyu was a tall man with a head full of fiery red hair that fluttered in the wind like a burning flame. He stared at Lin Xian and said in a deep voice, "You're very strong and you've exceeded my expectations. I never thought that the final battle would be with you." Lin Xian smiled and said, "Life is full of surprises. No one can predict what will happen next. Perhaps you didn't expect to lose in a while." Hearing this, Chiyu snorted coldly, "The one who will lose is you, there is no doubt about that. There's no point in talking. Let's do it." Lin Xian shook his head slightly. Seeing Lin Xian's contemptuous look, Chiyu was furious. As the number one disciple of the inner sect, he had always been high and mighty, and no one dared to look down on him. But now he was being looked down upon. How could he not be angry? Therefore, the moment he made his move, he used a powerful ultimate skill. A burning moon quickly appeared and shrouded Lin Xian. This aura was too terrifying. Even Luo Yuan and Luoshi trembled. Their expressions changed greatly. They had not expected Chiyu to be so strong. Damn it, he hid his cultivation. Luo Yuan trembled, his eyes filled with fear. He had originally thought that he could compete with Chiyu, but now it seemed that it was impossible. Chiyu's aura was very close to that of a 4-star king. Apart from the core disciples, no one could compete with Chiyu. Even the 2 core disciples and the elders nodded slightly, acknowledging Chiyu's strength. Lin Xian was expressionless, his expression calm. The next moment, he raised his hand gently and pointed with a finger. Void shattering. A ray of finger light flew out like a heaven-shaking divine rainbow flying in the sky. At this moment, the finger beam seemed to be the only thing in the world, so bright that no one could open their eyes. A deep sound rang out as the finger beam instantly shattered the red moon. This scene stunned everyone. They didn't dare to believe it. The red moon contained spiritual energy that was infinitely close to that of a 4-star king. Among the inner disciples, no one could compete with it. But now, it had been shattered with a single finger. How terrifying was the energy needed to do that? However, the one who did it was only a 2-star king? Everyone felt like they were dreaming. On the opposite side, Chiyu looked as if he had been struck by lightning. His face turned pale as he kept retreating. A stream of blood flowed down from the corner of his mouth. It was bright red and dazzling. He was too shocked. This red moon was his ultimate skill. No one in the inner sect could resist it. Only the core disciples could compete with it. But now, the other party had merely pointed out with a finger and his ultimate skill was broken. He could not accept it at all. At that moment, even the 2 elders widened their eyes. That was because Lin Xian's battle prowess was truly astonishing. Does this guy have the combat strength of a 4-star king? Thinking of this, everyone sucked in a cold breath. Damn it, I don't believe it. Chiyu roared. He waved his hand and a huge red moon formed beside him. The Moonlight Realm was Chiyu's king's realm. As soon as the Moonlight Realm was formed, it quickly condensed into red moons that pressed forward. Each red moon was like a red mountain, shaking the void and crushing the surroundings. However, Lin Xian only waved his finger and shattered these terrifying red moons. Chiyu roared crazily. He wanted to get closer to Lin Xian with his red moon realm. As long as he could envelop Chiyu in his king's realm, he would be able to win. However, that frightening finger light caused him to be alarmed. He could only use his maximum speed to continuously dodge. In the end, after 9 red moons were destroyed, Chiyu finally arrived in front of Lin Xian. Suddenly, Chiyu was ecstatic. His eyes shone with a terrifying light. The red moon realm beside him was even more dazzling. It was like a sea of fire. It's over. The huge red moon realm quickly enveloped Lin Xian. Seeing this scene, everyone cried out in alarm. Could it be that Lin Xian was really finished? At this moment, everyone was extremely nervous. Lin Xian was still calm. He waved his hand and the dragon sword realm was quickly displayed. Tens of thousands of sword chi roared. Killing intent soared to the sky. The whole world seemed to have become a world of sword chi. Bang! In the next moment, the 2 kings' realms collided. Countless cracks appeared in the void. In an instant, the red moon realm was shaken by the collision. It was directly blasted away. Poof! Chapter 1581. One hit, just one hit, and he was severely injured. Moreover, it was because his opponent was defending passively. If his opponent took the initiative to attack, he would have been killed. Everyone was stunned. The entire White Cloud Square was extremely quiet. Defeated, Qiyu was actually defeated. After a long time the crowd exclaimed. They could not believe that Qiyu, the #1 inner sect disciple, was defeated. This was too terrifying. His opponent was only a 2-star king, but the combat power he displayed was even more terrifying than Qiyu's. He had probably reached the 4-star king level. At this moment, all the inner sect disciples looked at Lin Xian, their bodies trembling. The 2 core disciples in the distance also looked very serious. His combat power was already on par with theirs. As for the 2 elders, they were also extremely excited. A peerless genius, an absolute peerless genius. Their alchemy faction had picked up a treasure this time. Qiyu was seriously injured and fainted. He was carried away for treatment. The entire place was completely silent. After a long time, an elder said in a deep voice, "This competition has ended. The one who became a core disciple is Lin Xian." Everyone was silent. They had never thought that today's result would be like this. Lin Xian revealed a smile. Very good, he had finally become a core disciple. Next, the elder told Lin Xian about the situation of core disciples. After becoming a core disciple, their treatment was greatly improved. They could have their own mountain to cultivate. Moreover, they could obtain more resources and could even enslave inner and outer sect disciples. Because Lu Chao had disappeared, a mountain was empty, so Lin Xian directly took over that mountain. Everything that Lu Chao had before was replaced by Lin Xian. In addition, core disciples had 2 opportunities to listen to the elders' lectures every month. They could read the middle-grade Earth-class martial arts and middle-grade Shen pill recipes. They could cultivate their own spiritual herbs in the mountains and only needed to give 50% to the sect. Of course, the sect had a rule that core disciples would be given a mission every 3 months. If they could not complete it, their treatment would be greatly reduced. Lin Xian nodded to show that he understood. He knew that the sect and its disciples had a coexisting relationship. They needed to cooperate with each other. He didn't need to worry about these things. He planned to wait until things were stable before going to the library to see if there were any clues about King Pillfeather. Just like that, Lin Xian became a core disciple. The resources he needed were all sent to the mountain peak. Among them, in addition to the cultivation method, pill Dao and spiritual medicine, there was also a blue pill. It was said that this was a very good pill. Only core disciples and above could possess it. The inner and outer sect disciples did not have the fortune to enjoy it. How could there be such a good thing? Lin Xian was overjoyed. What he lacked the most now was energy. If the great dragon sword soul wanted to improve, it would require an extremely large amount of energy each time. Moreover, it would increase exponentially. If he couldn't find so much energy, he was afraid that his realm would stagnate. Now this blue pill seemed to be a very good pill, so he planned to try it. After those people left, Lin Xian set up a defensive array on the mountain peak and named it Star Mountain. Then he sat down cross-legged, took out the blue pill and quickly swallowed it. Immediately, the pill dissolved and a torrent of energy rushed into his meridians. So powerful. Lin Xian was overjoyed. He didn't expect that the blue pill would have such a strong energy. It's indeed a good thing. No wonder only core disciples have it. He used the longevity incantation to quickly absorb the energy. But soon he frowned because the longevity incantation seemed to have changed. The longevity incantation was a cultivation method that he had been practicing since he started cultivating. Could be said that it was very powerful. Moreover, there had never been any changes. But now, the longevity incantation had changed. The cultivation method had reversed. Every cultivation method followed a certain path between the meridians and acupoints in the body to provide energy to the body. Could be said that this path was very stable. But now, the longevity incantation had reversed. Lin Xian didn't dare to imagine the consequences. Damn it! What's going on? Lin Xian's expression changed drastically. He wanted to stop, but he realized that he couldn't do it. The longevity incantation was like an azure dragon that quickly reversed in Lin Xian's body, expelling all the energy from the blue pill. Lin Xian's body trembled and he spat out a blue liquid. Those were all the blue pills from before. After spitting out the blue liquid, the longevity incantation calmed down and returned to normal. What's going on? Lin Xian's eyes widened. He couldn't understand. The longevity incantation had stopped him from absorbing energy. This had never happened before. Therefore he called the dark red dragon and He Tu over. The two of them were experienced and knowledgeable, so they should know what had happened. After He Tu and the dark red dragon heard this, they were also suspicious. They couldn't understand what was going on. Could it be that something went wrong with your cultivation? The dark red dragon said. That's impossible. Something went wrong, I should be seriously injured. But I'm completely fine. Lin Xian shook his head. At this moment He Tu said, Kid, try taking other pills and see if your cultivation method will reverse. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. He took out a pill that he had refined himself and quickly swallowed it. This time, the longevity incantation didn't reverse. This scene left everyone dumbfounded. After a while, Lin Xian said doubtfully, could it be that there's something wrong with this blue pill? Or could it be that it conflicts with my cultivation method? Other than that, he couldn't think of any other reason. One had to know that he was an alchemist. He had taken countless pills and nothing had ever happened. Only this big brother's blue pill could cause the cultivation technique to reverse. Thus, after thinking about it, there were only these two possibilities. He Tu nodded. Your cultivation method is very magical. Moreover, it hasn't made any mistakes for so many years. I don't think it's a problem with your cultivation method. So, it's the pill's problem, the dark red dragon said. Then, his eyes flickered as he carefully looked at the pool of blue liquid on the ground. What a strong energy. He waved his dragon claw and took out a drop to examine it carefully. After looking at it for a long time, he didn't find any problems. Although we didn't find any problems, it doesn't mean that there's no problem. Perhaps we just don't know yet. He Tu said, Kid, don't eat this blue pill. If you want energy, you can find it anywhere. As the new successor of the dragon sword, Lin Xian couldn't be allowed to have any problems with him. Lin Xian also nodded. Even if he wanted to eat it now, he couldn't. As soon as he took this pill, the longevity incantation reversed and spat out all the energy of the pill. Lin Xian had been using the longevity incantation for many years, so he felt that longevity wouldn't be harmful. It must be the pill's problem. At this moment, he suddenly had an idea. Chapter 1582. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly had an idea. Do you think the matter of King Danyu has something to do with this blue pill? Lin Xian asked. Hearing this, He Tu and Dark Red Dragon were deep in thought. Could it be that there's a secret behind this blue pill? I think it's possible. The two of them whispered. Lin Xian was delighted. It seemed that he had found a very important clue. In the future he would search for this blue pill. He should be able to find some clues. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate. His figure flashed and he left for Chuyu's mountain peak. If he wanted to know about the blue pill, he could only ask the core disciples. However, among the core disciples he was only familiar with Chuyu. Therefore he could only ask him. Chuyu saw Lin Xian and said with a smile, Why are you here instead of enjoying your cultivation resources? Oh, it's like this. I just received a blue pill from the sect. After consuming it, I felt that the effect was very good. So I want to ask, how can I get more? Oh, you're talking about that pill. Chuyu smiled and said, There's no other way. There's only one pill per month. Only one pill per month? Is it the same for everyone? Lin Xian asked calmly. Yes, it's the same every month. No matter what method you use, you can't get more. What kind of pill is it? How do you feel after consuming it? Do you feel uncomfortable? Lin Xian asked again. Why do you ask? Chuyu was puzzled. The effect of that pill is very good. Every time I consume it, I feel refreshed. I feel that my energy and body have reached the peak. It's definitely a rare pill. Only core disciples can consume it. However, I don't know what it's called. Everyone calls it blue wave pill. Blue wave pill, Lin Xian muttered and then frowned. From what Chuyu said, it seemed that no one felt uncomfortable after consuming it. Moreover, the effect was surprisingly good. But why couldn't he take it? Of course, he didn't dare to tell Chuyu about this matter. Otherwise, it would alarm the sect and he would be used for experiments or something. That would be terrible. It looked like he couldn't ask any more questions. Chuyu seemed to have begun to suspect something. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't ask any more questions. After chatting about some matters related to alchemy and cultivation, he left. Kid, don't worry, take your time. Otherwise, it will attract the attention of others. He Tu also reminded him. Yes, I know. Lin Xian nodded and put the matter aside for the time being. A few days later, he went to the sect's library to read some books. He specifically selected some historical records. However, there was no record of King Pillplume. According to the Thousand Beast Cauldron, King Pillfeather was an elder in the past. His status and strength were even higher than that of a core disciple. Logically speaking, there should be records of it. However, even after rummaging through the entire library, he did not find any records related to King Pillfeather. From the looks of it, he should have been erased by the alchemy sect. What did King Pillfeather do? He was actually hunted down by the pill sect and all his deeds were erased? Could it be related to that blue pill? Lin Xian was puzzled, but he wasn't very sure. It looked like this matter couldn't be rushed. He could only wait slowly. With a sigh, he returned to Star Peak again. There was no progress on King Pillfeather's matter. Lin Xian could only cultivate and increase his strength in order to deal with the unknown danger. After cultivating for a period of time, he felt that his progress was too slow. After all, he had the Great Dragon Sword Soul. The energy required was several times or even more than 10 times that of an ordinary king. Therefore, normal energy was simply not enough for him to absorb. It looked like he could only go out and search for opportunities again. Lin Xian sighed. As expected, one had to pay a higher price than others in order to be powerful. Fortunately, the matter of Mount Feng wasn't over yet. Perhaps he should go and explore again. The dark red divine dragon was very much in favor of this suggestion. The benefits he obtained last time allowed him to advance by 1 level. Therefore he couldn't forget about it now. The two of them didn't hesitate and left the pill sect again. They wanted to set off for Mount Feng. The demonic chi in Mount Feng was now even thicker. It overflowed into the sky and looked like hell. However, there were more martial artists in the surroundings. Moreover, it wasn't just the sects and countries nearby. Even sects and great sects from further away had come. It could be said that there were countless experts now. Damn, what did you discover? Why did you attract so many people? The dark red divine dragon looked at the figures flying in the sky and exclaimed, "Kid, be careful. Although there aren't any people from the sacred grounds or the remote antiquity families, those people from the great sects are also very powerful. I'm afraid that their strength is much stronger than your pill sect." Great sects? So powerful? Lin Xian was also surprised. He thought that above the pill sect were the remote antiquity families and sacred grounds. He didn't expect that there were countless great sects in between. He too reminded, "Kid, don't underestimate these great sections. Some of the more powerful great sects have existed for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. The terrifying great sects' foundation and strength are not inferior to the sacred grounds or the remote antiquity families." So powerful. Lin Xian was shocked. Indeed, there were countless experts in the true spirit world and many sects. It seemed that the pill sect wasn't ranked among these great sects. The great sect's foundation was limitless and incomparably terrifying. Even He Tu's words carried a trace of seriousness. Lin Xian took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He believed that with his talent and hard work, he would be able to rule the world one day. While they were talking, Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon quickly arrived near Mount Feng. Compared to a few days ago, this place was even more terrifying. The overflowing aura made people tremble just by looking at it. The two carefully advanced. Not long after, they passed through the cave they had entered last time. The deeper they went, the more terrifying the aura became. Fortunately, Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon weren't ordinary people, so they were able to resist this terrifying aura. If it were other kings, they wouldn't have dared to enter. However, just as they entered Mount Feng, they were attacked. It was a group of ghosts, emitting a cold aura that surrounded Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon. But this time Lin Xian's strength had greatly increased, so he easily dealt with them. As they continued forward, he finally frowned, because there were fighting sounds coming from ahead. It was obvious that the various forces had started fighting. Relying on his outstanding soul power, Lin Xian sensed danger and quickly avoided those warriors. He didn't want to fight with these people right now and waste his energy. Chapter 1583. There were about a dozen people in this group and the leader was an old man. However, what made Lin Xian feel at ease was that this old man was only a 4-star king. The young people behind him were at most 3-star kings. The old man stared at Lin Xian, his eyes flickering, but he did not say anything. However, the young disciples beside him sneered, "Kid, who are you? How dare you wander around here? Aren't you afraid of death? A 2-star king dares to come in alone? You're really courting death." A few young disciples stepped forward and looked down at Lin Xian with arrogant expressions. The old man frowned, but he did not say anything. This was because he had already checked Lin Xian's cultivation before, and he was only a 2-star king. Such a person was not a threat at all. Moreover, he was also very curious. Where did the other party get the courage to appear here? Lin Xian's expression was grave. He did not pay attention to these people. His figure flashed and he prepared to leave from another place. There was danger everywhere now and he did not want to fight too much. He wanted to preserve his strength. However, those young people did not intend to let him go. A hint of anger even appeared in their eyes. You're courting death. I asked you a question and you dare not answer? You're too arrogant. No one dares to ignore us. A mere two-star king dares to be so arrogant. Looks like we really need to teach you a lesson. They sneered and were about to attack. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly. If you don't want to die, scram. You're courting death. Hearing Lin Xian's warning, the young people were furious. In their opinion, he was simply courting death for daring to reprimand them. Therefore, these people shouted coldly and erupted with a powerful force, quickly attacking Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face darkened, and a hint of killing intent appeared in his eyes. He did not want to fight too much and preserve his strength. However, these people in front of him provoked him again and again. It seemed that he had no choice but to attack. He snorted coldly and raised his arm. Suddenly, a dazzling sword light flew out from between his fingers. It was like a long river, fiercely slashing forward. A beam of sword light turned into 3 beams of sword chi and slashed towards the 3 young men in front of him. Buff, buff. 3 low voices rang out as the 3 arrogant youths were sliced in half. What? He was killed. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people widened their eyes in disbelief. Even that old man had a shocked expression on his face. To be honest, the other party was only a 2-star king tier, and he didn't attract his attention at all. Among his disciples, any one of them could easily kill the other party. However, he did not expect that the other party had actually concealed his strength and displayed such powerful strength, killing 3 of his disciples with a raise of his hand. Brat, you're courting death. At this moment the old man could no longer hold it in. An extremely powerful force surged out from his body, and together with his huge palm, he slapped towards Lin Xian. Instantly, the palm of light covered the sky and the sun, and the immense pressure caused the void to tremble. 4-star king tier? Is this what gives you the right to be arrogant? What a joke. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a bright light burst out from his eyes. Then a dragon's roar rang out from his body. A shocking beam of sword light shot up into the sky. He clenched his fist, and a black demonic sword appeared in his hand. Then he slashed it forward. A sword that split the sky. The huge sword chi was like a black mountain, and it was extremely terrifying. It directly blasted away the huge palm that covered the sky and enveloped the old man. Boom. An earth-shattering sound rang out, and the wind and clouds between heaven and earth moved violently. A huge crack appeared in the sky. The old man's expression changed drastically. He felt an extremely sharp radiance slashing his body, and he was instantly sent flying. At this critical moment he activated 7 layers of defense. Among them, 3 layers of spiritual power defense, 3 layers of shields, and a piece of armor on his body blocked in front of him. He was truly too terrified because this sword chi made him shudder with fear and trepidation. However, even if he activated 7 layers of defense, it was useless. The black sword chi cut through all of his defenses and then slashed his body. Boom. The old man was sent flying. More than half of his bones were broken, and there was a horrifying sword wound on his body. Blood splattered in the sky, and the pungent smell of blood filled the air. Damn it, how is this possible? The old man was sent flying for dozens of miles, and he crashed into countless mountains. Only then did he stop and his eyes were filled with horror. He was a 4-star king. He was extremely powerful, and his opponent was only a 2-star king. However, he was able to seriously injure him with a single sword strike. This was simply too sensational. Damn it, is this kid from a sacred ground or a clan of the ancients? Or is he a disciple of one of those great sects? The old man's scalp went numb. He knew that he had kicked an iron plate this time. Only a disciple of such a force could fight someone of such a high level. Thinking of this, his expression became extremely ugly. In the next moment he burned the spiritual power in his body, and his entire body turned into a bright light, and he fled into the distance. Humph, black dragon break. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The black sword chi turned into a black dragon, and it roared forward. In an instant, the huge black dragon's body engulfed the old man. The sword light exploded, and the sword chi soared into the sky, tearing the sky apart. The old man was blasted into powder and nothing was left behind. The disciples that he brought with him were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. They did not expect their master to be killed. And this person was the ant that they had mocked before. Who are you? You're not human. You're a demon. Everyone run. The disciples were so scared that their faces turned pale, and they fled in all directions. However, at this moment, the dark red dragon sneered. He waved his dragon claws and shouted, "Dragon roars!" In an instant, countless dragon claws lashed out in all directions, filling up the entire space. Bang! Bang! Soon, the dozen or so disciples were all turned into blood mist by the dragon claws. The dark red dragon chuckled, and Lin Xian was also expressionless. To be honest, he did not have any pity in his heart because this world was very cruel. If he did not kill these people, they would kill him. If he and the dark red dragon were weak, they would have been killed by the other party long ago. After dealing with a few problems, Lin Xian and the dark red dragon continued on their journey. In front of them, black qi filled the air, and the aura of death soared into the sky. It was extremely cold. Some of the weaker warriors had no choice but to retreat. However, some of the bolder ones directly activated their king domains or armor to force their way in. As for the powerful kings, their blood qi was monstrous, and they were as vigorous as a furnace. From afar, one could see patches of red light that connected the heavens and the earth. Those were the scenes emitted by the blood qi of powerhouses. They were so powerful that ghosts and evil beings did not dare to approach. Lin Xian and the dark red dragon's blood qi rumbled in their bodies, emitting powerful auras. However, the two of them controlled themselves very well and did not appear too shocking. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.